Chapter 1072. Take down a champion, putting aside the fact that there were thousands of people participating in the prefecture examination. Just the Tianhai Academy alone was already filled with talents. As expected, an unfamiliar name was quickly mentioned downstairs. Everyone felt a little regretful, but they still had a smile on their faces as they comforted Dajiang. It's fine, it's fine. This prefectural examination is so difficult. We saw people taking the exam that day. They were all in their 70s or 80s. It's obvious that it wasn't easy to pass. We can't be too greedy. Dajiang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You don't have to do this. I'm already mentally prepared. As far as I know, there are dozens of people participating in the prefectural examination from Tianhai Academy this time. All of them are people who are well-read. I'm an old man who has only been in the academy for less than a year. I'm already satisfied to be able to pass. How many years had it been since he had put down his books? The championship was not a carrot or cabbage. It was not that easy to get it. Just as he was thinking about it, two people ran up from downstairs, panting. Tong Shuitao was the first to enter. She turned around and realized that Shui Rong was still behind her. She immediately turned back and dragged him over. I told you that your body is too weak. I told you not to go down, but you refused to listen. I could have come in and out myself, but I have to bring you along. It's troublesome. Shui Rong was speechless. Yes, you're strong, so you're right. He couldn't say a word. Even his arm hurt from being pulled too hard by her. He didn't have the strength to refute. Tong Shuitao strode through the door with a happy smile on her face. Congratulations, old master. You won second place in the class ranking exam. Second place? Everyone was stunned. Dajiang was also shocked. He suspected that he had heard wrongly. What did you say just now? Is it second or 20th? Second. Shui Rong finally caught his breath and replied firmly, and young master, 8th place in the prefectural examination. Heyuan was not with them. He went back after the exam. It was his family's turn to be vaccinated in the county. Dajiang laughed. All right. Yunshu slammed the table. So close. Father was so close to taking down the champion. Yundong was speechless. She did not teach him this, did she? But no matter what, after passing the prefectural examination, Dajiang was now a proper preparation scholar. Although he was a little old, this was the first time Dajiang had participated in the imperial examination. Furthermore, he was ranked at the top. His ranking was very gratifying. Father, we're happy today. Let's go to Jinxiu restaurant later and have a good meal to celebrate. Okay. All right, let's go to Jinxiu restaurant. The children were the happiest when they went to celebrate. Yunka had already started to order. Sister, I want to eat peach blossom meat, flour carving chicken, melon strips, squirrel fish, and tender tofu in balls. Yundong pinched her pink cheeks. You're quite good at memorizing the names of dishes. I'm good. The little girl patted her small chest proudly. Yinshu and Yuanji followed suit and ordered food. Although big sister's dishes were also very delicious, it was also an enjoyment to occasionally go to a restaurant to eat their signature dishes. They had not eaten at Jinxiu restaurant in the prefecture capital. Therefore, before they left the tea house, the Gu family had already ordered all the dishes. When they went downstairs, the group of people looked at the bustling street and quickly walked toward the main road. The carriage was parked in a spacious place. They got into the carriage and quickly rushed to their destination. However, when they arrived at Jinxiu restaurant, just as everyone sat down in the private room, the shop assistant suddenly came up and said, Miss Gu, Tong Ping is here. Should we invite him up? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1073. Giving birth. Yundong was about to order when she heard this. Tong Ping is here? Yes, he is. Get him up here. Tong Shuitao quickly stood up. Miss, I'll go welcome my father. Seeing Yundong nod, she immediately followed the shop assistant downstairs. Yundong, on the other hand, found it strange. Tong Ping is here to deliver goods? Then why did he come to Jinxiu restaurant? Maybe to help carry things, Xiaoxi said. Because he had a good relationship with the Liu family, Sometimes when the Gu family needed to deliver something and the Lu family needed to, the Lu family would ask them to carry it. It was not troublesome. As they were pondering, Tong Shuidao had already brought Tong Ping up. Gu Yundong looked up and saw the excitement on Tong Ping's face. She could not help but smile. "Why are you here? You look happy." She rarely saw such an obvious change in Tong Ping's expression. "Yes, there's a joyous occasion." Tong Ping seemed to have thought of something and started laughing. "Oh, tell me quickly." The smile on Tong Ping's face never faded. "The night before last, my wife gave birth." Gu Yundong's eyes lit up. "The child is born?" "That's right. Tong Ping's wife's due date was indeed within these few days. Previously, she had even prepared a red packet gift. It was just that it happened to coincide with her father's examination, so she had forgotten about it for a moment." The others also became happy. Tong Shuitao jumped up in shock. "My mother gave birth? A boy or a girl? When did she give birth? Is my mother all right?" All right. Your mother is quite good. She gave birth to a big fat boy, and it went smoothly." This was all thanks to the Gu family's masters treating them well. Tong Ping still remembered that when Tong Shuidao was born, his wife had been in pain for an entire day and night, and almost couldn't make it. Shuidao was also thin and small, as if she would die if her parents weren't careful. At that time, his wife was thin and weak. After she got pregnant, she had to work too. If she did not do well, she would have to kneel and kowtow to the master and be scolded. When she was pregnant with Shuitao, the young master even deliberately knocked into her stomach twice, scaring the Tong family so much that they thought that they would lose the child. But what could they do? Even if the young master wanted to abort the child in her stomach, they had no right to object. However, things were completely different in the Gu family. They ate and lived well. When their wives were pregnant, they were healthy and did not suffer from any illness. With money in their hands, they could also hire a doctor and a midwife. The food they ate was not bad either. Miss even told his wife to rest more, especially when the pregnancy was unstable in the first 3 months. She did not let her work at all. In the end, even if it was stable, she would only let his wife do some light work. These days, there were only 2 young masters in the family. They actually did not have much to do. The 2 young masters were even more amiable. They ran and jumped after leaving the Gu family. At home, they only read and wrote. His wife especially liked to listen to the young masters read in the room. Listening to their tender voices, she felt exceptionally comfortable and stable. Tong Ping felt that when this kid grew up in the future, he would definitely be like his second brother, Tong, and who could read and study especially quickly. Actually, her doctor said that it was still a little dangerous for his wife to give birth at her age. However, they did not expect it to be even smoother than Shuitao's. She came out in 2 hours. Even a midwife said that it was a miracle. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1074. Bestowing a name. Tong Ping's emotions surged, and he couldn't help but say, "The child has just been born and doesn't even have a name. I just want to ask Old Master to give the child a name. I wonder if it's possible." Gu Dajiang was very happy. "You want me to name him?" "Of course. Back then, I was the one who named Yundong and the others." "Thank you, Master." Gu Dajiang lowered her eyes and fell into deep thought. He tapped his fingers on the table. The elder sister's name is Shuitao, and the younger brother's name can be Yuju. One is water, and the other is wood. They grow together. Bamboo also represents tenacious life force, and it also means blessings for peace and prosperity. I hope this child is safe and happy. Brother and sister are united, and the benefits will cut through gold. Yinshu was eager to give a try. In fact, he had already thought of many names in his heart. It was a good time to say them now. When the time came, he would let Tong Ping choose one. Unexpectedly, just as he opened his mouth, before he could say the first name, Tong Ping suddenly knelt down and kowtowed heavily. "Thank you for the name, Old Master." Gu Dajiang was shocked and quickly got him to stand up. All right. Today is a happy day. Don't kneel here and there. I like to give names. Unfortunately, Mao and the others didn't look for him when they changed their names. This made Gu Dajiang regret it for a long time. Gu Yundong immediately called out to him, "All right, you're here. Let's eat together. This is a joyous occasion. We have to celebrate." Tong Shuitao was so happy just now that tears flowed out. At this moment, she hurriedly wiped her sleeves. "That's right, father. Today is a double blessing. Not only did mother give birth to a younger brother, but master also passed the prefecture examination and got second place." Tong Ping suddenly came back to his senses. Yes. Today is the day of the prefectural examination's result release. Before I came to the prefectural city, the village chief asked me to bring the news back after reading it. I went over just now, but the streets there were too congested and I couldn't squeeze in. I wanted to go around this side, but I didn't expect to see Master and Miss enter the Jinxiu restaurant just as I came over. I hurriedly ran over. In the end, when young Miss asked him what happy news he had, he immediately thought of his wife giving birth to a child and forgot what he wanted to say. Unexpectedly, old Master actually got second place. This was really a joyous matter. Not only that, but young Master Xiao had also presented the emperor with the cowpox vaccination method. Everyone in Yongfu village treated him as a hero. 3 blessings. The Gu family was very happy. They called the waiter over to order more food. Everyone ate to their heart's content before leaving Jinxiu restaurant happily. After leaving the door, Gu Yundong said to Tong Shuitao, "Your mother has given birth to a baby. Go back and wait on her before coming back." Tong Shuitao was stunned for a moment before immediately shaking her head. "No, a Miss maidservant. I have to follow Miss to protect Mississippi. My mother has my grandmother to take care of her. It's fine. All right, I'm just asking you to go back for a month. Can't I do anything without you? Don't you want to see your new brother? Go back with your father. Your grandmother is too old to take care of the family, and your mother. She can't handle it." Tong Shuitao thought about it and agreed. Her mother would definitely not be able to work right after the childbirth. Her grandmother had to take care of her mother, and the Gu family's house and backyard had to be cleaned up. In addition, the 2 young masters had to return to Yongfu village in a few days. At that time, her grandmother would indeed be too busy alone. She was strong. One person could match 2 people. It was still very useful. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1075. I'm going out therefore. Tong Shuitao hesitated for a moment before agreeing. After all, she could not wait to see her newborn brother. Tong Shuitao quickly went back to pack a few sets of clothes, then left with Tong Ping. The Gu family had all returned home. When the results of the prefectural examination were out, the neighbors also knew. On the way back, Gu Yundong specially bought some sweets and snacks for everyone to enjoy. As soon as they reached home, someone came to their door. The people living here were all scholars, including elementary scholars and high scholars. Therefore, although Gu Dajiang had won second place in the prefectural examination, everyone was not very surprised. They came to congratulate him and returned. The candy in Gu Dajiang's hand was quickly distributed. The family living next door to the small courtyard was the last to leave. When she left, she pulled Gu Dafeng and said, "Previously, a girl surnamed Fan came over and said that there's already some progress in the matter you asked her to pay attention to. She asked you to go over tomorrow to take a look." Gu Dafeng's eyes lit up. She quickly thanked the neighbor and sent her out. Gu Dajiang asked curiously, "Who is Sister Fan?" "It's Xiaoyuan's mother." Gu Dajiang was enlightened. So it's Xiaoyuan's mother. She had an impression of this. The potted plants in the courtyard were all bought from her. "What did you ask her to pay attention to?" "It's about finding a house. Didn't I tell you before?" "Well, move out after you pass the prefectural examination." Gu Dajiang was stunned. "You did, but I just passed the prefectural examination." "You're too fast." Gu Dafeng waved her hand. "What's so fast about it? I've been searching for a month before there's finally a suitable one. I'll go take a look tomorrow. If it's possible, I'll rent it. Actually, if you don't stop me, you know my personality. Besides, I've already spoken to you." Gu Dajiang couldn't help but sigh and stop persuading her. Indeed, There was no reason to stop her from leaving. His brother-in-law Bien Han's legs had already recovered, and their wooden carvings were selling well. Previously, Bien Han had listened to Yundong's suggestion and often carved complete sets of works. There were indeed many people who were unwilling to just buy one item. When they saw a complete set, they insisted on buying it together. Gu Dafeng already had a lot of money in her hands. Now, the couple also planned to buy some good wood and carve more exquisite things. They could sell them in the shop later. When they had enough money, they would consider renting a shop. That way, they would not have to go to the market every day. It had rained several times in the prefectural city a few days ago, and it would last for 2 to 3 days. It was not convenient for Gu Dafeng to set up a stall in such weather. It was better to have her own shop. Seeing that her father had no objections, Gu Yundong said, "Eldest aunt, I'll go with you tomorrow." "You're free tomorrow?" "It's okay." Gu Dafeng nodded. "Coincidentally, I heard that the local tyrants at Xingtao Street are afraid of you. With you around, I can avoid a lot of trouble." The children immediately raised their hands. "We're going to. Don't follow me. It's not like we need so many people for a gang fight. You can go after we rent the house." Gu Dafeng rejected them mercilessly. The children pouted in disappointment. They turned around angrily and ran into the house, muttering something. Xiaoxi, who had been silent all this while, narrowed his eyes slightly. He clenched his fists and suddenly said to Gu Yundong, "I'm going out for a while. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1076. Familiar box, where are you going? Gu Yundong looked at the sky. It was already so late. He could not possibly go to the Million Gold Pavilion. Xiaoxi had already reached the door. He waved his hand. "He'll be back in a while." When Gu Yundong wanted to ask again, he had already disappeared behind the door. He moved very quickly and disappeared in an instant. Gu Yundong was confused. After a while, she turned around and returned to the courtyard. Then, she saw Gu Dafeng packing up, especially the wooden carvings scattered in the courtyard. She had gathered them one by one. Gu Yundong walked over to help tidy up the house. "Eldest aunt, you don't have to be in such a hurry. You haven't seen the house yet. What if you're not satisfied?" "If I'm not satisfied, so be it. It doesn't matter. I'll have to clean it up sooner or later anyway. Hey, pass that to me." Gu Yundong followed the direction of her finger and handed over a wooden sculpture. Gu Dafeng took it and looked up at her. "Where did Heyuan go?" "I don't know. It looks like it's an emergency." Gu Dafeng nodded. "That must be very urgent and important. Heyuan is a good child and knows his limits. You don't have to worry too much. Eldest aunt seems to have a very high opinion of him." "That's true. He may look cold on the outside, but his heart is warm. Although he doesn't know how to say good things, the things he does make people feel warm in their hearts. Your uncle's legs have been inconvenient these days. When Heyuan sees him, he will help. Even if he goes to the toilet, he will carry him. Tell me, who would be willing to do this, especially a young man who is not related to us? Isn't it because he dotes on you?" As she spoke, she thought of Bien Mulan's husband. If it was him, he definitely wouldn't do such a thing. Her niece was blessed and would lead a good life in the future. Gu Yundong pursed her lips and smiled. Xiaoxi was indeed not bad, but he did not know how to put in a good word. She did not agree. This fellow was smart. She and Gu Dafeng chatted as they packed. She originally thought that Xiaoxi would return soon after leaving. Unexpectedly, he only appeared at the entrance of the small courtyard in a hurry when the sun set. Besides him, there was also Xiaowan, the former Amao. Xiaowan was carrying 2 large boxes of things. They looked like tea leaves and wine. Moreover, from the packaging outside, they were the most expensive ones in the prefecture capital. Xiaoxi was holding a familiar box. Gu Yundong's eyelids twitched. A familiar feeling welled up in his heart. She was about to go forward and ask him where he had gone when she saw Xiaoxi wink at her before striding into the central room. Gu Dajiang was talking to the 3 children. They were very curious about the matter in the examination shed and were asking about the difference between the county and prefectural examinations. Just as they were listening with relish, they saw Xiaoxi enter. He said to Gu Dajiang, Uncle Gu, I have something to tell you. Seeing his solemn expression, Gu Dajiang nodded and said to the three children, All right, go out first. We'll talk later. After the little ones left, Gu Dajiang brought Xiao Qingyuan to the study. Gu Yundong stood in the courtyard, his heart suddenly racing. Gu Dafeng had walked to her side and stood still. He asked softly, Why is Qingyuan looking for your father? He looks very serious. I'm not sure either. Although she said that, she could not help but clench her fists. Just as she finished speaking, a loud bang suddenly came from inside. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1077. Gu Dajiang, shut up with a bang. It sounded like a stool was suddenly knocked to the ground. Everyone in the courtyard turned around in shock. Gu Yundong was about to walk in when the door of the study was suddenly opened. Xiao Qingyuan and Xiao Quan were pushed out. Gu Dajiang's face flushed red as he pointed at him with a trembling finger. Just get the hell out of here right now. Xiao Qingyuan didn't move, and Gu Dajiang was instantly angry. Although he was a scholar, he was also a farmer. He was so angry that he cursed on the spot. I told you to leave, did you hear that? I was happy when I just passed the prefectural examination, but you came over immediately to pour cold water on me, right? Wedding? Why don't you take a look at how old Yundong is? Can't wait to get the cabbage? Let me tell you, no way. Wait for another 2 years, no. 3 years. Gu Dajiang, shut up. Another voice suddenly sounded in the courtyard. Gu Dajiang instantly stopped talking and looked up at the exasperated Gu Dafeng. Gu Dafeng rolled up her sleeves and strode over. She looked at Xiao Qingyan, who was standing at the door without saying a word but looked a little aggrieved and stubborn. She immediately said gently, Qingyuan, go and rest for a while. I'll talk to him. Don't worry. Then, she turned around and looked at Gu Dajiang with a livid expression. She pushed Gu Dajiang into the room and closed the door with a bang. Immediately after, Gu Dafeng's resentful voice sounded. Enough. Is there a father like you? Yundong and Qingyuan were engaged a long time ago. Didn't you agree to? Now that you're married, you're still making things difficult for her. Why? Are you afraid that your daughter's life will be too good in the future? No. Sister, Yundong is still young. Gu Dajiang wasn't that confident when facing his sister. What do you mean young? She's already an adult. She's a big girl. Gu Dafeng snorted. If you still want to keep her for 2 to 3 years, you might as well keep her until she's in her 70s or 80s. Gu Dafeng glared at him again, then sighed and sat beside him. She said earnestly, I know you dote on Yundong and can't bear to part with her, but you can't keep her forever. It's rare for Yundong and Qingyuan to have a good relationship. As she spoke, she suddenly suppressed her voice and said softly, Moreover, you have to think about it. Qingyuan is different from before. In the past, he had no parents and lived in a dilapidated house. He couldn't even eat alone. In addition, his reputation in the village was not good, so he didn't get married for a long time. But now, he has been to the capital, met the emperor, treated the prince's illness, and has good skills. He's tall and handsome, and has several shops. Do you know how many people are watching him now? When I was at the market last time, I heard many people talking about him. Even many wealthy families in the city liked him and wanted him to be their son-in-law. It's rare that he's unmoved and only wants to be with Yundong. Let me tell you, if you stop him again, he might be intercepted. Gu Dajiang frowned and sneered. So be it. Our Yundong is so outstanding. Should I be afraid that she won't be able to find a good husband? Gu Dafeng was so angry that she slapped him on the back. But Yundong likes Qingyuan. So what if you find a good husband? Do you still want to be that muddle-headed worm that breaks up the lovebirds and make them both unhappy? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1078. Showing her thumbs, Gu Dajiang immediately fell silent. The people outside the door gradually could not hear their voices and could only look at each other. Gu Ixtral City examination, but I didn't say that I was in such a hurry. The rankings have just been released today. No wonder her father was so angry. Xiao Qingyuan pursed his lips and paused for a moment before saying, "Eldest aunt is looking for a house tomorrow. If it's suitable, she'll probably move over on the same day." He did not finish his sentence, but Gu Yundong completely understood. She stared at him with wide eyes. After a moment, she gave him a thumbs up. "Good for you. Is still in the small courtyard?" Xiao Qingyuan laughed. "Don't tell anyone." Gu Yundong rolled her eyes at him. "I'm not stupid." As she spoke, the door of the study was opened again. Gu Dajiang's expression was still very ugly, but his tone was much better. He said to Xiao Qingyuan, who was at the door, "Come in." Xiao Qingyuan immediately took the box and entered the study again. Gu Yundong was scratching her head. Why did her father only call him in? Wasn't this about her marriage? Should she, the person involved, go in? It was unknown what was said inside, but after a long time, Annie Nyo came over for the third time to say that it was time for dinner. Only then did the three of them come out of the study. Gu Yundong's sharp eyes saw that the box in Xiao Qingyuan's hand was gone, but Gu Dajiang did not ask him to stay and let him go back to eat. In front of Gu Dajiang, Xiao Qingyuan couldn't say much to Gu Yundong. He gestured at her and left the small courtyard with Xiaowan. Gu Dajiang placed his hand behind his back and called out to the people in the courtyard. "All right, let's eat first." Gu Yundong could only suppress her doubts and follow him to the reception pavilion. On the other hand, Gu Dafeng was a step behind. He walked to her side and whispered, "Don't worry. Your father won't dare to hit Qingyuan in front of me, and he won't break you up." Gu Yundong was speechless. She was not worried about this at all. After entering the reception pavilion, probably because Gu Dajiang didn't look too good, everyone was very quiet. No one said a word and quickly dispersed after eating. Gu Yundong also returned to her room. However, not long after she entered, there was a knock on the door. Gu Dajiang's voice came from the door. "Yundong, may I come in?" "Father." Gu Yundong hurriedly opened the door and let Gu Dajiang in. Gu Dajiang held the box that Xiao Qingyuan had given him. He walked to the table and sat down. Then, he looked at Gu Yundong and said, "Xiao Qingyuan sent this today." Gu Yundong glanced at her father, paused, and reached out to open the box. As expected, it contained all of Xiao Qingyuan's assets. "Betrothal gifts," Gu Dajiang said. "He's offered the 2 shops and the house in Yongfu village. He said that he had already given you the contract for the manor outside the city, right?" Gu Yundong nodded. Looking at the box in front of her, she felt her hands become extremely heavy and hot. "Gu Dajiado part with you. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1079. Dowry. As Gu Dajiang spoke, his mood sank slightly. "You're my first child. Back then, when your mother gave birth to you, it was difficult for her to give birth. The doctor said that she would never be able to give birth again. At that time, your mother and I thought that you were our only daughter. We wish we could give you everything." Among the 3 children, Gu Dajiang had always had the deepest feelings for Gu Yundong. "I still remember when you were just born. You were a little ball. I didn't expect you to get married in the blink of an eye. I felt like I was in a dream. It's unreal. I'm not capable. I didn't give you a good life when I was in the old Gu family. Now, in Yongfu village, you're the one who let the Gu family live a good life. Now that I'm already a preparation scholar, you'll become an elementary scholar in August. I can more or less protect you. I just thought that when I get the titles, my status will be different. I can still shelter you from the wind and rain for a year or 2. I didn't expect that kid to be so impatient." Dajiang couldn't help but lower his head and wipe the corners of his eyes. Gu Yundong's heart ached at his words. She felt both suffocated and warm. She knew that her father had been trying very hard to support this family, so he had worked very hard. He had won the championship in the county examination and 2nd place in the prefectural examination. He wanted to obtain a title as soon as possible and shield her from the wind and rain. Gu Yundong had always known that her father wrote letters, copied books, and drew drawings to earn money. He also worked hard to promote canned candy in the academy. He was silently supporting his daughter in his own way. Although there were people in the academy who criticized him for being a greedy scholar, Gu Dajiang didn't care. He only cared that, as a father, He still needed his daughter to work so hard to support him in his studies. He wanted to share some of the burden, even if it was insignificant. He wanted to help Yundong more, but Xiaoxi cut him off. This was what Dajiang disliked about him. Yundong slowly took a deep breath and suppressed the tears in her eyes. She smiled and said, "Father, even if Brother Xiao and I get married, you can continue to shelter me from the wind and rain. I'm still your daughter. If outsiders bully me, we'll tell them that my father is Dajiang. He's now an elementary scholar, a high scholar in 3 years, and an honorable scholar in the future." Dajiang was amused by her. "You sure have confidence in me." "Of course." Dajiang nodded at her before continuing. "They'll get someone to calculate the date of your wedding tomorrow. We definitely have to choose a good day. As for your dowry, I can't take out anything else. The few shops and the workshop in the village are your dowry. As for the house in Yongfu village, the small courtyard now, and the few hundred acres of orchard, you directly registered it under my name back then. Consider that I've bought them from you. I'll pay you when I have money in the future." Yundong frowned. "Father, what are you saying? How can I?" "You don't understand. Women only have confidence when they have dowry." Dajiang bluffed. "It's settled then. As a father, I'm not that shameless to take my daughter's things for myself." Yundong stood up. "How can you call this taking things for yourself? You raised me up. Isn't it my duty to be filial to you? Even so, you don't have to do so much for me. If I take it from me, they'll feel guilty. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1080. Did the Gu family escape here? Yundong frowned deeply. For the first time, she realized that she could not win against her father. However, since she had put these things under Dajiang's name back then, they were the Gu family's house. She had no objections to the shop and workshop being her dowry. But the house, what should I do? How troublesome. Dajiang made the final decision and left the box of betrothal gifts from Xiaoxi. Yundong, as expected, once they were about to get married, this matter instantly became complicated. The first thing was the distribution of assets. If this was in any other family, it would probably be good enough if the father could give his daughter a dowry of a few hundred taels of silver. However, when it came to her father, he did not want anything. He would give her the money for the house where he was currently staying in the future. She could understand her father's thoughts, but she could not bring everything into the Xiao family as a dowry. This matter had to be discussed again. Not many people in the Gu family slept well that night. However, the next day, Feng still woke up early. Yundong had agreed to accompany her to look at the house. Not many people went. Besides her and Feng, there were also Bianhan and Shuero. The others, especially the 3 brats, stayed at home obediently. Yundong had been to Xingtao Street several times, so she was already familiar with the place. When she knocked on Xiaoyuan's door, Madame Fan and Xiaoyuan happened to be going out to set up a stall. When she saw Feng, Madame Fan immediately put down the card in her hand and planned not to go out. "You're here to look at the house, right? They'll bring you there now." Feng quickly stopped her. "No need, no need. Just tell us where the owner is. It's a rare good day today. Don't delay your business. We'll go over ourselves." Yundong also said, "That's right. Mrs. Fan, you should be busy. We're all adults now. We can find the place by ourselves." "How can that be? We agreed that I would bring you there. How can I leave you behind?" Just as she finished speaking, a head suddenly popped in from outside. When she saw the person inside, she immediately exclaimed, "Boss, why are you here?" Yundong turned around. "Wasn't this Su Qing? You're off today?" "Yes, it's my turn to rest. I heard some movements here, so I came over to take a look." The Su family lived next door, which was very close. Xiaoyuan was on good terms with her, so she immediately explained everything in detail. Su Qing nodded in understanding. "I know where the owner is. Mrs. Fan, go ahead. He'll bring the boss and the rest over." "You do." Su Qing nodded with certainty. Madame Fan was relieved. Only then did she bring Xiaoyuan out of the courtyard and go to the market to set up a stall. Su Qing went home and informed Mother Su. Mother Su found it strange. "Boss Gus and is looking for a house? Why is she here?" Could it be that her aunt's family isn't well off? One had to know that the rent of the houses here was cheap, but this place was not very peaceful. Just the local tyrant alone was a headache. Su Qing said, I heard that after the boss aunt fled to the Shuana prefecture 2 years ago, she was lost. She just reunited with the boss last year. Her family should be in trouble. Escape. Mother Su was surprised. Her aunt escaped from the Yundong prefecture. That's right. Didn't I tell you? The boss also fled here. That's why I especially admire her. With that, Su Qing hurriedly ran out of the door. Mother Su muttered, She's indeed admirable. She just escaped from the famine 2 years ago. Now, there's actually such a big... Wait, she escaped from the famine? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1081. She finally remembered. Mother Su suddenly stood up. She remembered. She finally remembered where she had heard the name Gu Yundong. Ouch. It's all her fault for being senile. She only remembered now. Mother Su hurriedly went out to chase after her. Unexpectedly, she exerted force and suddenly sprained her ankle. It was so painful that she screamed and hurriedly sat down by the door frame. Then, she shouted towards the next door. Xiaoxi, are you still there? Bosco, are you there? No response. Mother Su was anxious and called out anxiously. Xiaoxi, finally. Xiaoyuan's father's voice sounded from next door. Aunt, what's wrong? Xiaoqi followed Miss Gu to look at the house. What's the matter? Do you need my help? No need, no need. I thought she hadn't left. There's something I need to talk to her about. Go on with your work. All right. Auntie, call me if you need anything. Okay. Mother Su sighed. She didn't expect Xiaoqi and the rest to act so quickly. They had just left the house and were already gone. She held the door frame and stood up again. Fortunately, she had only sprained one ankle and could still walk back to the house. Mother Su slowly moved back into the house and rubbed the liniment on her ankle a few times. On the other side, Su Qing had already led Gu Yundong and the rest to look for the owner. The owner didn't live far away, but the house he wanted to rent was a little far from Xiaoyuan's house. That couldn't be helped. After all, there weren't many suitable houses. When the owner saw them, he immediately brought them to the house enthusiastically. Although my house isn't big, it's in a good location. There's a river outside, so it's especially convenient to wash things. He looked at Bian Han, who was being pushed by Shui Rong in a wheelchair, and said, That road is made of limestone. It's flat. It won't be troublesome for you to go back and forth. Su Qing leaned close to Gu Yundong's ear and whispered, If it's not far from the river, the rent might be a little expensive. Moreover, I heard from my mother that when she rented a house on Xingtao Street in the past, she also went to the river to check houses. Then, she realized that there was a family by the river whose house was not very good. Someone had died unjustly, and it was haunted in the middle of the night. I don't know if this house is that house. Boss walks slowly. He'll run back and ask my mother if it's this house. Don't fall for it. There's no need to go through so much trouble. It's no trouble. This place is not far from my house. It only takes half a cup of tea to go back and forth. With that, Su Qing ran away. Gu Yundong did not know whether to laugh or cry when she saw how energetic she was. Is her personality also affected by Zhuangzi now that they're engaged? Su Qing returned to the Su family very quickly. Unexpectedly, before she could say anything, she saw her mother sitting on the bed and rubbing her ankle. She was shocked. Mother, what's wrong? Mother Su looked up and quickly put down the things in her hand. Oh, you're finally back. Then, she looked behind her. Where's your boss? Didn't she come back with you? Boss went to look at the house. Su Qing sat by the bed and was about to take the liniment from her. Mother Su waved her hand. There's no need for you. I have something urgent to tell your boss. Hurry up and bring me there. As she spoke, she was about to get off the ground. Su Qing was so frightened that she hurriedly held her. Don't come down. Just tell me what happened. We'll go find the boss. Sigh. I can't explain it clearly to you in a few sentences. Mother, don't be anxious. We'll go find the boss now. Sit down and don't move. With that, Su Qing ran out again. When she reached the door, she suddenly remembered why she came back. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1082. Go and get protection. Fi Su-Ching hurriedly stopped in her tracks and looked at her mother. She asked, "Mother, when you were looking for a house back then, you said that a family by the river had died unjustly and the house was haunted. Which house was it?" "It's the innermost house. It's abandoned." Su-Ching nodded and ran out of the house. She hurried back and forth and soon caught up with Gu Yundong and the rest. Gu Yundong could not help but be surprised when he saw how anxious she looked. "Why are you in such a hurry?" "Boss, my mother said that she has something very important to tell you." "Looking for me?" Gu Yundong pointed at herself. "Is it urgent?" "Yes, she wanted to come over personally, but she accidentally sprained her ankle and couldn't come out." Gu Yundong was even more puzzled. But from what Su-Ching said, it must be very important that Mother Su sprained her ankle because of this. Gu Dafeng, who was beside him, also heard it. The house owner also heard it. Just now, she saw Su-Ching run away alone. Now, Su-Ching rushed back in a hurry and wanted them to go back. Could it be that this girl had found a cheaper house with a better location? How could that do? The owner was immediately unhappy. "What do you mean? Are you going to rent a house or not? I've already brought you all here, but you're leaving without even looking at the house. Are you messing with me?" "Yes, I'm renting it. I didn't say that I wouldn't rent it." "Isn't this an urgent matter?" Gu Dafeng said as she pulled Gu Yundong's arm. "Why don't you go back with Su-Ching to take a look? We can look at the house ourselves. It's not far away anyway. If it's suitable, we can rent it. If it's not, we can look for another one." Gu Yundong thought about it and nodded. "All right, eldest aunt, take your time. You can't be in a hurry to rent a house." "Of course." Gu Yundong then instructed Shui-Rong, "Take good care of my eldest aunt and uncle. You can also help with their opinions." "Yes, my lady." Gu Yundong then said to Su-Ching, "Let's go. They'll go home with you to take a look." Su-Ching nodded hurriedly, but before she left, she still asked the landlord, "Which house are you renting? The one in the innermost area?" The owner waved his hand. "The house in the innermost area is abandoned. The house I want to rent is not that one. It's the third house to the innermost side. Don't worry, I won't cheat you." Su-Ching was relieved and immediately left with Gu Yundong. On the other hand, Shui-Rong was meticulous and asked, "What's wrong with the house in the innermost area? Why is it abandoned?" "Sai, that house is haunted and no one lives there. But don't worry, my house is far away from the house. There's nothing to do with it. You'll know when you see it." The owner led them to the river. Unexpectedly, when they were about to reach it, a person suddenly walked over. That person walked unsteadily. When his gaze landed on the owner, it was meaningful. The owner's expression suddenly changed, and he immediately lowered his head. However, Gu Dafeng and Shui-Rong were checking the surroundings on both sides and did not notice their expressions. After that person brushed past the owner of the house, his footsteps immediately quickened. Not long after, the man walked into a courtyard and said to one of the people who was playing cards, "Boss, I met Qian when I came back just now. He happened to bring people to look at the house by the river. I think we can rent it out soon. Should we pay a visit and ask for protection fees? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1083. Negotiation. The boss raised his eyebrows and pushed the cards away. He looked up and asked him, "Someone want to look at the house? Did you see who it was?" There were 3 people following Qian. 1 was a woman and 2 were men. One of the men was a cripple who was pushed away in a wheelchair. "Cripple." The boss touched his chin and clicked his tongue. After a while, he said to him, "Little 6, go take a look and see who among them wants to rent a house or if all 3 of them live there. After they rent it and pay, we'll go and find someone to ask for protection money." "All right, it'll go now." Little 6 was excited. He rubbed his hands and walked out of the courtyard happily. He ran quickly, and not long after, he saw Gu Dafeng and the others. They happened to walk into the third house's courtyard. Little Six hurriedly took a few steps forward and nestled outside the door to listen to the commotion inside. Coincidentally, the owner of the house was introducing the house. This house belongs to my uncle. Previously, he and my aunt lived alone. Recently, they bought a big house elsewhere, so this house is empty. Because it's an old house, they can't bear to sell it, so they plan to rent it out. The place is not big. There are only 2 rooms. This side is the central room, and next door is the kitchen and outhouse. There's also a small warehouse that's convenient to store miscellaneous things. The courtyard is not big, but you can grow vegetables in the corners on both sides. Also, they'll let you use everything in this room. It's just that some of the tables and chairs are old. If you don't want them, they'll take them away. If you want them, repair them. There's no big problem. There's a river outside. There are more than 20 stone steps to the left. It'll be easy to wash clothes. By the way, how many people will live here? Gu Dafeng listened to him as she checked. Actually, he was very satisfied with this house. Although there were only 2 rooms, they were big enough. The kitchen and outhouse were relatively clean. The tables, chairs, and benches could also be used. Those which were broken could be repaired. Anyway, her man was a carpenter. There was also that small storeroom that could be used to put wood carvings for them. There's only 2 of us. We're husband and wife. She pointed at Bien Han. The landlord nodded. It's enough for 2 people to live in. It's not expensive. The rent for this house is only 2 taels a month. How about it? Are you considering renting it? Gu Dafeng frowned. It's not cheap even if it's 2 taels. The better locations only cost 2 taels. But it's convenient here. To be honest, this price is already very rare in the prefecture capital. Gu Dafeng still frowned and looked a little forced. Let's discuss it first. All right, you guys discuss it first. Gu Dafeng, Bien Han, and Shui Rong went to the side to whisper. The 3 of them muttered for a while before finally coming to a decision. If the other party was willing to give a discount, they would rent it. Gu Dafeng bargained with the landlord for a tael of silver a month before renting the house. The owner of the house was also afraid of trouble. He had seen Little Six just now. When Little Six saw him, he smiled slyly. He was probably going to cause trouble, so let the rent be less. Just rent it out first. The 2 sides quickly finalized all the matters and wrote the lease. The rent here was paid once a month, and there was a tael of silver as a deposit. The lease period was at least half a year. After receiving the money, the owner finally heaved a sigh of relief. At the door, Little Six also threw the last peanut in his hand into his mouth and quickly got up to run. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1084. Do you know Gu Xiaoxi? The owner of the house handed the key to Eldest Aunt Gu and left. Gu Dafeng looked at the house that already belonged to her, and her heart was suddenly filled with endless vitality. Although they were still renting a house now, she believed that they would be able to buy a house of their own soon. Yundong isn't back yet. Let's clean up the house first and wait for Yundong to come over to take a look. That way, we can move in tomorrow. Boss chuckled, put on his coat, and left. Little Six lead the way. Even though he knew the address and didn't need anyone to lead the way, he still had to have an imposing manner. All right, boss, this way. The local tyrant swaggered towards Gu Dafeng's rented house with a group of underlings. Wherever he went, passers-by quickened their pace and turned their heads to avoid him. When the gangsters were far away, they shook their heads and whispered, I wonder who's unlucky this time. If Gu Yundong was here, she would definitely recognize this group of people. They were the local tyrants who had received benefits from the Zhou family and wanted to cause trouble for her shop. Unfortunately, she was still at the Su residence. After following Su Qing home in a hurry, Gu Yundong saw Mother Su sitting on the bed, sighing and looking vexed. She and Su Qing looked at each other and quickly went forward to ask, Auntie, I heard from Su Qing that you have something very important to discuss with me. Mother Su looked up and hurriedly said, Yes. I suddenly remembered something. I think I have to tell you as soon as possible. As she spoke, she hurriedly gestured for Gu Yundong to take a seat. Aunt, please speak. Gu Yundong sat down at the side. Seeing this, Su Qing quickly poured 2 cups of hot water for the two of them. As soon as she entered, she heard her mother say, "Xiaoqi told me that your family fled from Yundong Prefecture?" Bianhan agreed. "All right, he'll see which tables and chairs need to be repaired first." He slowly stood up and inched forward. Bianhan's legs were getting more and more agile. As long as he didn't walk too long and didn't have too much burden on his body, it wouldn't be a problem for him to walk and stop. Seeing this, Shui Rong immediately went into the kitchen and took out a wooden bucket. "He'll go to the river and get some water." "All right, go ahead." The three of them quickly got to work. No one knew that Little Six had already excitedly told his boss about the situation here. "Boss, should we go now or another day?" The local boss stood up and fiddled with it. "Let's go now. It's boring. Let's take care of our new neighbors in case they don't know the rules of this street." The lackeys at the side immediately echoed, "That's right. How can you not tell us that you're staying at Xingtao Street?" "Sai, I just lost 50 copper coins to boss. I might be able to make up for it after this trip." "Aha, I lost 20 copper coins too. Let's go together. Who knows, it might be a fat sheep." "Yes, why?" Gu Yundong nodded. Mother Su paused for a moment and said, "When I first heard your name, I found it familiar. It seemed like someone had mentioned this name in my ear. I didn't remember it at that time. After all, there were many people with the same name. It was only when I heard that you had also escaped from the Yundong Prefecture that I came back to my senses." "Boss Gu, do you know a man called Gu Xiaoxi?" With a bang, Gu Yundong suddenly stood up. The stool behind her fell to the ground because of her strength. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1085. Uncle Gus' whereabouts. Gu Xiaoxi. Gu Xiaoxi. That was her uncle's name. Gu Yundong's eyes widened. She grabbed Mother Su's hand and asked anxiously, "Auntie, you know Gu Xiaoxi?" "My uncle is called Gu Xiaoxi. He's also from a Yundong Prefecture. He was separated from us when we escaped from the famine. We've been looking for him." As Gu Yundong spoke, she suddenly thought of something and hurriedly took out Gu Xiaoxi's portrait from her space. "Annie, look, is this the person you saw?" Su Qing was surprised. Her boss had really put in a lot of effort to find her family. She even brought a portrait with her. However, Mother Su looked at the portrait and frowned slightly. She shook her head and said, "I don't know." Gu Yundong was stunned. "You don't know? The Gu Xiaoxi I saw back then was bruised and swollen. He was also very thin, as if he would collapse if the wind blew. He doesn't look like this portrait." Mother Su had seen this portrait before. It was pasted on the notice wall every day, but she had never seen it again after seeing it once. Firstly, she did not know the person on it. Secondly, she was not very literate and did not know what the words on the portrait meant. Therefore, she had never thought that this person might be someone she had seen before. Gu Yundong was enlightened. Yes, the portrait she drew was of her uncle in the old Gu family. He had definitely lost a lot of weight during his escape, but she did not know that his face was still swollen. He must have suffered a lot on the way to escape. Gu Yundong put the portrait aside and asked anxiously, "Aunt, when did you see him? Do you know where he is now?" "I saw him a few days after the city gate opened," Mother Su said. "At that time, one of my nieces came to look for me. Gu Xiaoxi came with her, Xiaoni." "Niece? My uncle was with your niece?" Mother Su nodded. "I have a distant cousin. Although we're separated by several levels, we often worked together when we were young. Our relationship is not bad. It's just that she later married into the Yundong Prefecture and got away from us. After she married over, she never visited us again. This time, my cousin died on the way because of the famine. Only my cousin-in-law and daughter, Xiaoni, were left. Later, my cousin-in-law died too. I heard that it was to save your uncle. Before he died, he entrusted Xiaoni to your uncle and even instructed them to come to the Shuana Prefecture to find my cousin's family. They must have suffered a lot along the way. When they arrived at the Shuana Prefecture, they were penniless and had been hungry for a few days. Fortunately, someone fed them porridge at the city gate at that time, so they survived. When the door of the new emperor's prefecture opened, Xiaoni and your uncle entered the city gate and found my house. It should be the address my cousin gave Xiaoni. When I saw them, your uncle's face was already bruised and swollen. I couldn't see his appearance clearly. Later, They rested at my house for half a day and told me what happened on the way to escape. That was when I found out your name. Your uncle said that he was looking for you. His eldest brother entrusted you to him, but he lost you. Along the way, he asked about your whereabouts and didn't know what to do. He said that if I heard your name, I should ask someone to send a letter to him. At that time, Uncle Gu was also in despair. Actually, when he said those words, Mother Su could tell that he no longer had any hope. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1086. Going to find him, it should be said that no one had any hope on such a chaotic escape route. An adult and 3 children. The adult was even a woman, and her behavior was like a child's, unable to make any correct judgment. Strictly speaking, this was the path of the strong preying on the weak. The 4 children struggled for as long as they could. Moreover, they only had about 10 small potatoes the size of quail eggs on them. They could not even last for 2 days. Who would think that they would survive? Hence, when Mother Su heard about it, she was already certain that the sister-in-law, nephew, and niece that Gu Xiaoxi mentioned had met with misfortune. She had never linked Gu Yundong to the escape. How could a penniless girl, who had fled from the Yundong prefecture, have the ability to open such a huge shop in the prefectural city and do such a popular business in just a year? However, the truth was so coincidental. The Gu Yundong that Gu Xiaoxi was talking about was the Gu family's boss. Mother Su sighed. Later on, they had lunch at my house and asked if my family was still around. When they found out that her 2 biological uncles were in their hometown, they left. At that time, Mother Su wanted to let them stay for 2 days, but Xiaoni rejected her. Firstly, the Su family's house was not big to begin with, and secondly, they were in a hurry to leave. Mother Su did not force her. After all, they had never met before. Her relationship with her cousin had also faded because of the 20 years between them. In addition, during that period of time, there were all kinds of crimes caused by refugees in the city. Mother Su was also worried. Therefore, she gave the 2 of them some money, told them the direction, and sent them out of the city gate. As they had not stayed in the Su family for long, Su Qing and Su Changshun, who had gone out to look for work, had never seen Xiaoni and Gu Xiaoxi. However, when they came back, they heard Mother Su talk about this. Still, the person she talked about the most was her cousin from back then. She was also depressed about her cousin's death. When Gu Yundong heard everything, the ecstasy on her face grew. That's right, it was her uncle. After so long, there was finally a clue. Where are Miss Xiaoni's uncles? Are they far from here? She couldn't wait to find her uncle. Father and eldest aunt would definitely be very happy when they heard this news. Mother Su said Xiaoni's uncle's house is in Great Rock Village under Heyuan County. Gu Yundong frowned slightly. Heyuan County? That was the county town furthest away from Shuana Prefecture. It would take them a day to get to Feng County by carriage, but it would take at least 2.5 days to go to Heyuan County. It was actually so far. No wonder there was no news, even though the portrait had been hanging on the notice board for so long. Mother Su asked her, "Are you going to look for him? Are you sure it's him?" Gu Yundong nodded. "I'm sure. It must be my uncle. There aren't so many coincidences in the world. The man fled from a Yundong prefecture, and his name matches. He said that he would take care of us on behalf of my father." "That's right." Mother Su exhaled. That's good. Auntie, thank you so much. You don't know, but when we escaped from the famine back then, we were all separated. However, in the past 2 years, we've reunited one after another. Only my uncle is left. There's no news of him at all. My father and my eldest aunt have always missed him. During the New Year and holidays, they're always thinking about where he is now and whether he's living well. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1087. Coming to the door, Mother Su waved her hand and sighed. "Boss Gu, don't say that. It's my fault for having a bad memory. If I had remembered earlier, you would have found him long ago." "No, I'm already very grateful that you told me. If not for Auntie, we might not have been able to find him." Gu Yundong was really grateful to her. He was also extremely glad that he had listened to Zheng Gang's suggestion to invite Su Changshun to work at Gus. Otherwise, he would have missed Mother Su's message. Still, she thought about it and asked, "You just said that my uncle was saved by Xiaoni's father and asked him to take care of Xiaoni." Then the two of them, Mother Su said, even if her father didn't entrust her to him, the two of them, a man and a woman, had walked all the way here alone. They definitely want to be together. I know. Gu Yundong nodded. Did that mean that she had a little aunt? Gu Yundong stood up. No matter what, I have to thank you today. I have to go back quickly and tell my father and aunt the good news. They'll visit you another day to thank you. No need, no need. Mother Su quickly waved her hand. But Gu Yundong had already walked out. I'll take my leave first. She then instructed Su Qing, take good care of your mother. Bring her to the medical center to have her legs treated. Got it, boss, Su Qing replied. She seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly chased after her. Boss, are you going to the river? Do you know the address? I know. It's the third house to the innermost side. It's easy to find. With that, Gu Yundong disappeared from the door. Gu Yundong had just received great news. She was excited and walked at an exceptionally fast speed. Before long, they reached the river. At this moment, the local gang had arrived at Gu Daifeng's newly rented house half an hour earlier than her. Looking at the group of people who suddenly appeared, Gu Dafeng and the others were shocked. She subconsciously stood beside Bianhan. Shuirong had been in a rich family for many years, so he knew how to read people's expressions. One look at this group of people, and he knew that they definitely did not come with good intentions. He pushed the wheelchair over and let Bianhan sit down first, in case there was a conflict later and they accidentally pushed him over. Then, he slowly grabbed the broom in the corner and asked the group of people in front of him coldly, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Gu Dafeng also picked up a long bench and looked at the people opposite her with a dark expression. "This is our rented house now. Isn't it outrageous for you to come in without permission?" When the local boss saw their posture, he glanced at the cripple in the wheelchair and immediately laughed. "Don't be agitated, don't be agitated. Of course we know that this is the house you rented, and it's just rented. The monthly rent is 1 tael of silver. It's quite cheap, right?" Gu Dafeng frowned and looked at them. She suddenly understood. "Are you the local tyrants of Xingtao Street?" Yes. He had long heard that there was a gang of local tyrants on this street. The boss raised his eyebrows. "Oh, you've heard of us? That makes things easier." With a wave of his hand, a lackey brought a stool and placed it behind him. Boss sat down leisurely. "As for me, I won't waste my breath. Do you know why your rent is so cheap? Is it because of you? That's right, it's because of me. All the neighbors who live here know that this area is not safe. We often encounter theft. We are here to prevent such things from happening. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1088. Where reasonable people Gu Dafeng and Shuirong looked at each other and gripped the things in their hands even tighter. She turned around and said to Bianhan, "Stay further away later in case I hurt you." Bianhan also knew his own situation. Now was not the time to show off, so he nodded and whispered, "Be careful and try to stall for time until Yundong comes. Didn't they say that the local tyrant here is afraid of her? Let's use Yundong's name to scare them." Gu Dafeng thought for a moment. "But I don't think they're very smart. I'm afraid they won't believe me." As they spoke, the local boss was already impatient. "Why? What are you discussing? Let me tell you, it's useless no matter what you say. Anyway, you have to pay the protection fees. Don't say that you have a backer. If you have a backer, you won't come to Xingtao Street to rent a house. You won't have to bargain with the owner for just 0.2 taels of silver." Gu Dafeng, who was about to say that she had a backer, was speechless. "How can I accept this? Can't I rely on myself and be thrifty?" The boss continued, "I don't want much either. How about 1 tael of silver a month?" Gu Dafeng gasped. 1 tael of silver? Why don't you rob? Their rent was only 1 tael of silver. Okay? Yeah, we're all reasonable people. Why would we rob? That's the work of bandits. Don't say that I tricked you. You can ask around. The rent in the nearby streets and alleys is more than 2 taels of silver. This is the prefectural city. This Xingtao street is not remote. The owner rented it for 1 tael of silver to you because he knew that you had to give us another tael of silver to protect you, right? Little Six and the other lackeys cheered from behind. Yes, boss is right. If you don't believe me, you can ask the people nearby if we're doing a good deed. Gu Dafeng and the other two were speechless. However, at this moment, the neighbor who was watching the commotion outside said, Yes, just give it to him. He'll be at peace after giving it to you. If you don't give it to me, you'll lose things in the future. Your things will also break. You rented this house for 1 tael of silver? That's really a huge bargain. It's reasonable to give 1 tael of silver to buy peace. Gu Dafeng and the other two were so angry that they almost fell to the ground. What kind of bargain was this? What did he mean by taking advantage? He actually believed the words of a local bully. He was simply crazy. Of course, there are also different voices. You can't say that. This courtyard is not big. 1 tael of silver is not a small amount. If you give them another tael, they will lose. Before he could finish speaking, a few local tyrants turned their heads in unison and sneered at him. The person who spoke turned pale. He quickly lowered his head and silently dodged to the back. There were also others who agreed with this point of view. At this moment, they did not dare to speak. These local tyrants said that they had collected protection money to protect them. But in fact, they had not done anything at all. They just did not steal. They did whatever they wanted. If someone accidentally bumped into them on the way, they would still beat them up. The boss finally lost his patience. He suddenly stood up and kicked the chair behind him away. He said to Gu Dafeng and the others, Hurry up. I still have to go back and push the cards. If you waste my time again, do you believe that I won't be able to sleep peacefully in the future? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1089. Gu Yundong is your niece? Gu Yundong had just walked to the door when she heard this familiar and arrogant voice. She frowned slightly and looked up at the people outside the third house. After taking a few steps forward, Gu Yundong pushed aside the crowd of onlookers and immediately saw a group of familiar local tyrants. The corners of her mouth twitched. As expected of the local tyrants of Xingtao Street, she had just arrived at this unfamiliar place, but he was already here to extort money. Gu Dafeng, who was in the courtyard, had yet to see her. Her temper was not weak to begin with. When she heard the threat of this local tyrant, she immediately placed a bench in front of her chest and said angrily, You're quite capable. How are you going to make us not sleep peacefully? Do you know who I am? How dare you say this in front of me? Gu Yundong looked at Gu Dafeng in surprise and silently applauded her in his heart. Very good, it was this aura. She remembered the long time ago. She seemed to have used these words to scare Zhou Dafu. However, the local tyrant was different from Zhou Dafu. The boss sized Gu Dafeng up from head to toe and laughed out loud. As he laughed, he said to the lackeys beside him, Did you hear what she said just now? She still thinks that she's the wife of a rich official. She's quite arrogant. Come, tell me who you are. You make us afraid too. Ha ha ha. The group of lackeys behind him also laughed loudly. Even the people outside the door who were watching the commotion laughed softly. Gu Dafeng gritted his teeth. You should know Gus, right? Gah. The laughter suddenly stopped. Whether it was the local boss or his lackeys, they all fell silent. Gu Dafeng secretly heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that they were indeed afraid of Yundong. However, the nervousness and retreat she expected did not come. Instead, she saw the boss' completely dark face and red eyes. A moment later, she heard his sneer. Why? Do you also want to say that you have a relationship with the owner of Gus? Are you going to tell me that she's your daughter and your niece? Do I look so King stupid? Can any of you use Gus to fool me? Let me tell you just now, I only wanted to take 1 tael of silver. Now, without 3 taels, you can forget about leaving this door today. The lackeys behind him immediately echoed, Yes, pay up. They were also very angry. Many people in Xingtao Street knew that the local tyrants, did not dare to provoke Gus because of his Su family and the Shi family that moved over a few months ago. Su Changshan of the Su family was working at Gus. The new kid called Zhuangzi was also a worker at Gus. The one called Jiang Bao was a shop assistant in Xiao's pharmacy. The local tyrants had suffered at the hands of Gu Yundong and Xiao Qingyuan, so they naturally did not dare to provoke their employees. Therefore, when they collected protection fees, they basically bypassed the two families. Even their neighbors were safe because of them. There was no lack of smart people in Xingtao Street. As time passed, many people could tell. Hence, one family imitated the Su family and the Shi family. When the boss came to ask for protection money, that family actually said that they had a good relationship with the shopkeeper of Gus and often drank together and called each other brothers. The local tyrant wasn't sure at that time and was really fooled. When he turned around to investigate, good lord, they actually dared to lie to him. This matter made boss furious. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1090. Bosku, you've heard wrong now. There was actually another family that used the name of Gus to bluff and scare them. Moreover, they were new. The local tyrants were afraid of Xiao Qingyuan and Gu Yundong, but that did not mean that they were easy to bully. Hence, the boss picked up the chair behind him and was about to smash it on the ground. Do you really King think we're easy to talk to? Stop! A shout suddenly came from behind. If you tell me to stop, the local tyrant sneered and turned his head, wanted to see who would dare to stop him at this time. However, halfway through his sentence, when he saw the appearance of the person, his voice suddenly stopped and his expression changed. He was not the only one. His lackeys also took a small step back and looked at Gu Yundong in horror. They had not forgotten that this woman looked young and thin, but she was king good at fighting. She could fight 10 people alone and could knock them down in an instant. There was also the maidservant beside her. She was stronger than the 3 men combined. That servant girl didn't come today. Fortunately, she didn't come. Gu Yundong smiled and walked to the eldest son's side. She looked up at the bench that he was still holding and said, "Do you want to put down first? If it's accidentally broken later, you'll have to pay 10 times the price." Boss was stunned. Little Six, who was beside him, was quick-witted. He quickly went forward to take the stool and carefully placed it on the ground. Gu Yundong nodded in satisfaction and looked at Little Six with admiration. Little Six could not help but puff out his chest, feeling a ray of light above his head. Gu Yundong then walked to Gu Daifeng's side. "Eldest aunt, how's the house? Have you rented it?" "Yes, it's rented. We all think it's not bad." Gu Yundong nodded. "Since it's not bad, let's stay here for now. If you think it's too small in the future, we can change it." As she spoke, she turned to look at the group of local tyrants who were already stunned. What did they just hear? Eldest aunt? Gus boss called this woman eldest aunt. The lackeys looked at their boss silently. Their boss was so amazing. He could even guess this. The boss, however, felt bitter. He had just said it casually, but who knew that his words would come true? Gu Yundong was really her niece. Was there something wrong? Her niece's family was so rich. Why did they come to Xingtao Street to rent a house? Was there water in their brains? The group of people was so shocked that they couldn't recover. It was Gu Yundong's voice that pulled them back. "I heard you say just now that you want to make my eldest aunt suffer?" "No, absolutely not. You heard wrongly." The boss immediately shook his head as if he was about to throw his head off. The other lackeys shook even more fiercely. The onlookers outside the door were shocked. Did these people have any integrity? They actually denied it so quickly and thoroughly. Who was this young lady? These local tyrants seemed to be afraid of her. They were even more afraid than when they saw the government officials. Gu Yundong frowned. "Did I hear wrongly? Then why did you raise the stool just now?" "I was practicing arm strength." "Yes, I suddenly feel that the weight of this stool is just right. It's suitable for arm strength." The lackey at the side echoed, "Yes, yes, yes. Boss Gu, you know that our boss right hand is not very strong. You know that." "Boss Gu?" The people at the door widened their eyes. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1091. failing to extort only to be extorted. Could it be that this girl was the owner of Gus' shop? Was she that young? Moreover, the local tyrants were even more afraid of her than the rumors said. She was just a young lady. Could it be that they could not deal with her with so many people? The voices outside the courtyard rose and fell, and everyone started whispering. Some people's voices accidentally became louder and could even reach the ears of the boss. The boss snorted coldly in his heart. What did you people know? Although this girl looked young, she was very sinister. Not to mention how many times they had been beaten up. Just on the day of her shop's opening, she had deliberately lured old Master Zhou over and cheated him of so much money. It could be seen that this person was not easy to deal with. Moreover, she was not only the shopkeeper of Gus. She was also the fiancée of Boss Xiao, who had gone to the capital to meet the emperor and treat the prince. She was also the owner of the new tea pavilion shop with the wife of the prefecture magistrate, the eldest daughter of the Nephew family. They only dared to provoke such a person because they were tired of living. Okay? Yundong almost burst out laughing when she heard their reason. She restrained her expression and looked at their sincere eyes. She lowered her eyes and thought for a moment before saying, "So this stool is so important to you? In that case, take it away." All right. The boss hurriedly agreed. Unexpectedly, Yundong said awkwardly, "But if you take this stool away, we'll lose one. What if the rest are not enough? We still have to buy it again. I wonder if this stool is cheap." The boss suddenly felt enlightened and immediately felt bitter in his heart. He said with a sullen face, "How can I let Boss Gu give it to me for free? Wouldn't that make me look bad? How about this? He'll buy it. He'll buy this stool, okay? One. He gritted his teeth. How about 1 tael of silver? Hey, you're too polite. It's just a lousy stool. Why would I need a tael of silver? If I accept it, will others think that I'm bullying you?" No. The boss hurriedly shook his head. As the old saying goes, the best things cannot be bought with money. Who asked this stool to be suitable for me? I insisted on buying it. Bosco didn't bully me at all. He'll be angry with whoever says that. Yundong shook her head and sighed. In that case, he'll reluctantly accept it. She spread out her fair right hand with an innocent expression on her face. The boss was heartbroken. His hands trembled as he took out a tael of silver from his waist and placed it in her hand with difficulty. "Boss Gu, our deal is done. We'll go back first." "All right, you can go back. Hey, remember this is my eldest aunt and uncle. Since you both live on the same street, please help take care of them in the future." Definitely. The lackeys behind him also promised sincerely. Then, the group of people began to rush out of the courtyard. They did not even look back, as if they were afraid that someone would chase after them. After walking for a long time, the boss hit little six hard. "You son of a b******. Next time, find out more information before you come. If something like this happens again, it'll kick you into the river and drown you. Do you believe me?" With that, he stuffed the stool in his hand into little SXS arms and strode away. Yundong, who was in the courtyard, threw away the silver in his hand and turned to hand it to Dafeng. "Eldest aunt, keep it well and buy a better stool. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1092. Eldest aunt, uncle has been found. Dafeng didn't decline. She put down the stool in her hand and said with a smile, "Fortunately, you came early. These local tyrants are too evil. Come, let me show you our new rented house." As she spoke, she wanted to pull Yundong inside. Unexpectedly, just as she moved her feet, Yundong pulled her back. "Eldest aunt, there's no hurry to look at the house. I have good news for you." She had a happy and excited smile on her face, and she almost lost control of her grip on Dafeng. Dafeng was a little surprised to see his niece lose control. "What good news makes you happy?" "I have news of youngest uncle." Yundong laughed and dropped a bomb. This news shocked Dafeng so much that her eyes widened in shock. Even Shuirong, who was about to close the courtyard door, stopped in surprise. Bianhan stood up immediately, his face full of excitement. After a while, Dafeng came back to her senses. After confirming that she hadn't heard wrongly, she immediately asked anxiously, What did you say? There's news of your uncle. Really? It's true. I know where he lives. Let's go home first and tell my father the good news. Then, we'll bring uncle back to reunite with his family. Gu Dafeng nodded repeatedly. Yes, yes, yes. Let's go back first. She could not be bothered to ask about Gu Xiaoxi's current situation and where Gu Yundong had gotten the news. All these were no longer important. Anyway, she had news of her younger brother, and they would be able to meet soon. That was enough. Gu Dafeng turned around and pushed Bianhan's wheelchair, asking him to sit down quickly and go home first. However, when they reached the door, they realized that the people who had been watching the commotion had not left. They looked at this group of people curiously. Most of their gazes were focused on Gu Yundong. They were both curious and nervous about this little girl. However, they were different from those local tyrants. Without experiencing Gu Yundong's methods, they were not scared. Shui Rong frowned and said to the onlookers, Make way first. We're going out." All of them moved slightly to the side, but the distance was still not enough for the wheelchair to pass. Gu Yundong frowned and said coldly, "Move aside." Her face darkened. She still had some dignity. Everyone hurriedly retreated and let her walk out. Shui Rong locked the door, and the group left in a hurry. Gu Yundong turned to look at these people and secretly shook her head. She had heard many onlookers persuade Gu Dafeng to pay the protection fee. The local tyrant of Xingtao Street was also a rare feature of this place. Gu Yundong had asked around before, why didn't the bailiffs come to deal with this group of people? It couldn't be that no one reported it to the authorities, right? Of course, there were people who reported it, but not many. Some bailiffs came to catch the local tyrants a few times, but they were quickly released. The reason was that the people in Xingtao Street were not united. These local tyrants were very interesting. Every family paid protection fees, but for local residents, they paid less. It was within their tolerance. In addition, they had always lived on this street. If they reported it to the officials, these local tyrants would take revenge later. Therefore, they could only endure it. After all, the protection fee was not much. However, for outsiders who came to Xingtao Street to rent a house, the protection fee was much higher. For example, Eldest Aunt Gus' rent was 1 tael of silver. The gangsters would ask them to replenish the rest according to the market price. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1093. Go find Uncle now. Look, it was also within everyone's tolerance. Otherwise, if you don't want to rent here, go somewhere else. The rent is still so much, or even more. The local residents would even help persuade those who did not pay protection fees. After all, they had already paid. Why should these foreigners not pay? To put it bluntly, they felt unbalanced. As a result, these local tyrants were like fish in water in this area, earning a lot of money. Of course, there were also those with a strong temper. If the local tyrants could provoke such people, they would. If they couldn't, they would pretend not to see them. Gu Yundong felt that these people were both smart and stupid. However, these were the survival methods of this street. She could not care less. As long as these people didn't offend her, it was fine. The 4 of them hurriedly walked to the place where the carriage was parked and quickly went up. It was not until the carriage began to move forward that Gu Dafeng calmed down and asked Gu Yundong, "How did you find out information about your uncle? Where is he? Is he far from us? When are we going to pick him up?" Gu Yundong knew that she was anxious and did not hide it. She replied with a smile, "It was Auntie Sue who told me. She had seen Uncle before, but she did not expect me to be related to him. It was only when she heard that we had also escaped from Yongning Prefecture that she immediately connected the dots. That's why she asked Su Qing to quickly fetch me and tell me about Uncle." She told Gu Dafeng everything that Mother Su had said in detail. Gu Dafeng was overjoyed. It's good that he's alive. As long as he's alive, nothing else matters. Previously, she had been trying her best to tell herself that it was good news that there was no news of Gu Xiaoxi. However, she often mentally prepared herself. Gu Xiaoxi might not have survived that famine and was gone. Now that she knew that he had come to the Xuanha Prefecture safely, she was relieved. As long as he survived that famine, Gu Dafeng believed that he would definitely still be alive. After Gu Yundong finished speaking, the carriage had already arrived at the entrance of the small courtyard. Gu Dafeng hurriedly got out of the carriage. She didn't even care about her husband and rushed into the courtyard. Gu Dajiang was walking out of the door. "You're back? Have you found a house?" "It's just as well. I found someone to calculate the date. Take a look and see which date is the best for Yundong's wedding. In my opinion, next year, none of this is important. Let me tell you a piece of good news." Gu Dajiang glared at her. "Why isn't my daughter's wedding important? Even if you're my sister, you're not allowed to say that." Gu Dafeng was stunned and hurriedly slapped her mouth. She hadn't paid attention to what Head said just now, and she couldn't wait to interrupt. Yes. The news of Yundong's wedding is very important. However, we have to discuss this matter slowly and ask for the couple's opinion. There's still a piece of joyous news I want to tell you. There's news about Xiaoxi." Gu Dajiang froze. You just said?" Gu Dafeng nodded repeatedly and pulled him into the central room. Then, she told him everything she had heard from Gu Yundong. Gu Yundong came a step behind and happened to hear it. Although Eldest and had exaggerated some of the details and expressed some of the meaning wrongly, the rest were basically in line. Gu Dajiang laughed out loud when he heard that, causing the children to run over. Then, she heard him say anxiously, "Let's go find Xiaoxi now. Let's go now. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1094. How to go. Gu Dajiang was so excited that he was incoherent. His eyes narrowed. Gu Dafeng was also extremely excited. She grabbed his hand and nodded repeatedly. "Yes, let's go find him now. That's really great. I knew it. Why is it that those people from the Gu family are still safe and sound, but something happened to little brother? The heavens are really blessing us. Let's go and get ready to pick them up." The siblings were in a hurry. When Xiaoxi entered, he saw them holding hands as they entered the house. He looked at Gu Yundong in confusion. He had come today to discuss the wedding date. Yesterday, his father-in-law had finally agreed to their marriage this year. To make sure that nothing goes wrong, it was better for him to come and keep an eye on them. She went to the Million Gold Pavilion in the morning and then went straight to the Gu family. In any case, there was no need to keep an eye on the Million Gold Pavilion anymore. He would go up and make a trip in the afternoon. In Gu Yundong's words, it was fine as long as he clocked in from work. What happened? Xiaoxi walked to Gu Yundong's side and asked softly. Gu Yundong patiently repeated the matter. Xiaoxi widened his eyes in surprise. "There's actually news?" He paused and asked, "Do you know how to get there?" "All right, he'll go and take out the map first," Gu Yundong said softly. A map was not allowed to be hidden among the commoners, but Gu Yundong had it. She had asked Qin Wenjing for it. To her, to understand a town, she had to at least know the location and direction of various places. She was a businesswoman, so how could she not have a map? Moreover, what she wanted was only the general map of Xiaoni Prefecture. She could just quietly keep it. She brought Xiaoxi into the house and pulled the energetic Gu Dafeng and Gu Dajiang over. Gu Yundong knew how long it would take to go to Heyuan County, but she did not know which towns they would pass along the way and how far Great Rock Village was from Heyuan County. The four of them sat in the study and looked at the map in front of them as they discussed. Why is Heyuan County so far away? There are too many mountains around. It's too inconvenient to circle around. Gu Dafeng was the first to frown. She had never seen a map before. This was the first time. It looked quite close on the map, but when Gu Yundong explained, she was stunned. This palm-sized distance actually took so long? Gu Dajiang sighed. There's no choice. Heyuan County is relatively poor. There's only one main road to the county city. The main road has a detour. If we take a shortcut, we'll have to cross at least 2 mountains. It won't be easy. He was considered half an elementary scholar, so he had some understanding of the county cities under the Xiaoni Prefecture. The reason why Heyuan County was poor was because the roads were not smooth. No one was willing to go. Yundong had a good saying. If you wanted to get rich, you had to build a road first. It was true. Gu Dafeng's heart ached. When our brother went to Heyuan County back then, I'm afraid his legs were about to break. Gu Yundong was speechless. Eldest aunt. He had already escaped from the famine. Are you still afraid of this little journey? The few of them familiarized themselves with the situation on the way from Shuana Prefecture to Heyuan County. They considered which towns they needed to pass and which roads were safer. As for the route from Heyuan County to Great Rock Village, they could only talk about it when they reached the county city. The village was too small and could not be displayed on the map. However, when they were considering who would go to Heyuan County, their opinions differed. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1095. Treating Uncle badly. Eldest Aunt Gu felt that she had to go. How could she miss out on picking up her younger brother? Gu Dajiang felt that he was the eldest brother. Now that they had left the Gu family, he had the responsibility to take care of his younger brother and find him. Xiaoxi felt that he was about to become a member of the Gu family, so he naturally couldn't miss this opportunity to gain favor. Gu Yundong was speechless. What were these people doing? The few of them had different opinions. In the end, Gu Dafeng suddenly clapped his hands. Why don't we all go? Bring sister-in-law and the children and give me a surprise. Gu Yundong looked up at the sky. Eldest aunt, we're going to pick her up? The sooner the better. Want to be a vacation if everyone goes there? Even the kids? Eldest aunt, what exactly are you thinking? Why don't Yundong and I go? We can speed up and shorten the journey, Xiaoxi suggested. Gu Dajiang immediately denied it. No, although you're about to get married, you're not married yet. What will happen if a man and woman go out alone? Besides, my daughter is a girl and has a delicate body. How can you speed up? She's not your daughter, and you don't feel sorry for her, right? We're in a hurry to find her uncle, but we're not in such a hurry. Xiaoxi understood that his father-in-law was very resentful of him. But speaking of which, ever since Gu Dajiang returned, he had indeed never gone on a long trip with Yundong under their noses. At most, he would return to Feng County from the prefectural city, but that would only take a day. There was no problem of sleeping outside. When Gu Dajiang saw that he was silent, he knew that he must be feeling guilty. He snorted coldly and said, "How about this? Sis, don't go. Brother-in-law hasn't recovered yet. Your house had just been rented, and you still have to clean and move. It's rare for UNG to come to the prefectural city. Spend more time with him. Besides, it's a long journey to Heyuan County. It's too tiring." Gu Dafeng wanted to refute, but Gu Dajiang was right. It was mainly because she was old now. If she went, she might even drag her down. Father, you don't have to go either. Gu Yundong agreed with Xiaoxi. You still have to participate in the court examination in a few months. Studying at home is more important. Besides, you are indispensable at home. If we all go, who will take care of mother and brother and sister? Gu Dajiang frowned. That was true. He couldn't leave this family behind. He was worried. He couldn't help but glance at Xiaoxi. He didn't want the couple to go, but he couldn't let Yundong go alone. That would make him even more worried. Xiaoxi could go alone, but Xiaoxi didn't know him. What if he treated him as a bad person? Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he said in surprise, "Qingyuan and I will go. Yundong, you'll stay at home." Yes, this was the best of both worlds. Yundong did not need to sleep in the open, and she was the backbone of the family. He could rest assured that she was at home. Xiaoxi was speechless. No, I refuse. It was obvious what kind of hell it would be when he went out with his father-in-law. He thought quickly. After a moment, he frowned and said with a troubled expression, "I'm fine with it. But what? Could it be that this guy would suffer if he went with Gu Dajiang?" Gu Dajiang, was a preparation scholar with arms and legs. He was very strong and didn't need him to serve him. What was there to be unhappy about? But I don't think it's good for Uncle. Gu Dajiang frowned. What do you mean? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1096. Father, wake up, Xiaoxi said. I heard from Yundong that when Auntie Su saw younger uncle, he was not in good spirits and looked depressed. Other than the pain he suffered on the way to escape, the bigger reason should be that he was very uneasy and guilty about losing Yundong and the others. Gu Dajiang pursed his lips and fell silent. Xiaoxi continued. Uncle must have felt that he had let Uncle down and felt even more ashamed to see you. So I think that what he actually wanted to see the most might be Yundong and Annie. If he knew that Yundong was still alive, he would definitely be very happy and surprised. Hence, Yundong's visit will be the greatest comfort for Uncle. If Uncle goes, younger Uncle will probably feel pain and discomfort the moment he sees you. He will feel sorry for you. He will be worried that you will blame him and find him to settle scores with him. He will ask him about Andy and the others' whereabouts. At that time, he will probably want to die to apologize. Gu Daifeng's heart skipped a beat when she heard that. She quickly pulled Gu Dajiang back and said, Yes. Qingyuan makes sense. It's best if you don't go. Otherwise, what if you scare him and make him apologize with his life? Gu Dajiang was speechless. Couldn't he explain? Was his mouth in vain? Xiaoqi said, Of course, we can also explain. Tell him that Yundong and the others are safe and sound, so that he doesn't have to blame himself. But Uncle will think that we're comforting him. Before he sees the others, he will definitely be in a panic and disbelief. Instead of that, why don't we let Uncle see Yundong safe and sound from the beginning? Gu Yundong put her hand behind her back and silently gave a thumbs up. Gu Dajiang had to admit that what he said made a little sense. He wanted to surprise Xiaoxi, not give him a fright. He glared at Xiaoqi. Forget it. They were about to get married anyway. If he stopped them, he would look like an evil person. All right, then you guys go. There's no need to ride fast. Take the carriage. The most important thing is safety. After a pause, he still said, Let Xiaowen accompany you. With a third person around, it couldn't be considered a man and woman alone, right? If Gu Yundong knew what he was thinking, she would probably say that he was deceiving himself. Xiaowen was Brother Xiao's man. Father, wake up. The matter was settled just like that. Although Gu Dajiang was a little dissatisfied, he was still very excited to help pack his things when he thought about how he was about to meet his younger brother. Afraid that Yundong would be cold and hungry, he personally carried 3 blankets into the carriage and instructed Xiaoqi, The 3 of you, each for 1, understand? Xiaoqi nodded obediently. He went back to apply for leave from the prefecture magistrate. Since he was going to Heyuan County, he could not go to the Million Gold Pavilion. The prefecture magistrate glared at him unhappily. He had just returned to Yongfu village some time ago, and now he had to go to Heyuan County, which was so far away. Although he was looking for Gu Yundong's uncle, there was no need for him to do it himself, right? Could his fiancé's family be more important than the emperor's decree? However, although he was unhappy, Heyuan County was far away. He still wrote a letter for Xiaoqi. If you encounter any trouble, go to the local county magistrate. This letter proves your identity. After all, you're an imperial physician sent by the emperor. However, you and Gu Yundong are both capable people. This letter might not be useful. Thank you. Xiaoqi put the letter away. He wouldn't use it if he could. Otherwise, it would be troublesome. Hopefully, everything would go smoothly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1097. Such a surprising operation? Gu Yundong was almost done with her preparations. She did not have many things, and the most important ones were in her space. There were only a few sets of clothes in the carriage. Just in case, she even stuffed the pots and bowls under the carriage frame. After preparing, the 3 of them set off early the next morning despite the reluctance of Gu Dajiang and the others. You must bring your uncle back. Remember to tell him that everything is fine at home. After I pass the preparation scholar exam, he'll be an elementary scholar soon. You're about to get married too. Tell him to come back. Yes. Just say that his brother and sister are waiting for him in the Shuana prefecture. He's the only one who hasn't returned. We're all very worried. Our family will be reunited once he comes back. Got it. Gu Yundong waved her hand. Seeing that Gu Dajiang was about to reach the alley end, Xiaoqi hurriedly gave Xiaowen a look, and the carriage instantly sped up. The carriage drove all the way to the city gate. Heyuan County and Feng County were 2 different directions, so the moment they left the city gate, the carriage turned around. Gu Yundong was laying out the blanket. She planned to find a comfortable position for herself to lean against and rest. The carriage suddenly came to a stop. Gu Yundong was stunned. "What's wrong? I have something to tell you," Xiaoxi said as he reached out and pulled a bag over. Gu Yundong recognized that it was Xiaowen's bag. She was stunned and blinked in confusion. Xiaoxi had already pulled open the curtain and said to Xiaowen, who had jumped out of the carriage, "Stay in the manor for a few days. Help me see how the fruits and herbs are growing. I'll give you a few days off. Don't return to the city yet." "I know. Have a safe trip, young master." Gu Yundong. Gu Yundong. She was stunned. There was actually such a thing? "Father, didn't I tell you to wake up? What's the use of letting Xiaowen follow you?" Xiaowen took the bag and waved at Gu Yundong. "Then I'll leave first. Be careful, young master in Mississippi." Gu Yundong watched helplessly as he approached the manor outside the city. She turned to look at Xiaoxi in a daze. After a moment of silence, she nodded. "Impressive." Xiaoxi turned around and said with a serious expression, "I'm doing this for everyone's sake. You've seen the map. If there's no coincidence along the way, we might have to sleep in the wilderness. We only have this carriage. If Xiaowen is around, the carriage won't be enough for us to sleep." The corners of Gu Yundong's mouth twitched. "I don't believe you." She reached out and pushed him out. All right. Since he's already gone, I won't pull him back. Then hurry up and ride. He'll rest for a while." "Yes, whatever my wife says." Xiaoxi obediently sat on the shaft of the carriage, and the carriage started moving again. Gu Yundong shrank back into the carriage and covered her face with her hands. "Bastard, what wife? We're not married yet, so why are you shouting?" He knew that now that there were only the two of them left, he would start to be indecent. However, to be honest, with just the two of them around, it was indeed much more relaxed. Xiaoxi must have gotten some benefits last time. At that time, he had brought Dai Wenhua into the mountains. In the end, when they returned, Dai Wenhua and the other two had left first, leaving the two of them to return to the county city slowly. Xiaoxi was visibly happy and excited along the way. Now, he was taking drastic measures. He was amazing. However, what was even more impressive was that Xiaoxi words made sense. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1098. Meeting Gao Feng again. Sure enough, Gu Yundong and Xiaoxi did not make it to the village. At night, they slept in the wilderness. Fortunately, both of them were experienced. They found a refreshing river and stopped the carriage. The sky was not completely dark yet. Xiaoxi took a look, picked up the bow and arrow hanging behind the car, and said, "They'll go to the forest over there to see if there's anything to eat. If anything happens, just shout." "Okay, go ahead." Gu Yundong waved her hand to reassure him. Xiaoxi first picked up some dry branches nearby, then took the precious bow and arrow she had given him into the forest. Gu Yundong took out the pot under the carriage and used the stones by the river to build a small platform. Then he washed the pot. First, he lit a fire and boiled water. Then he stared at the river. After staring at it for a long time, he felt a little regretful. The water here was too shallow. There were only small fish swimming around. The largest was only the length of a finger. It was not even enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. She sighed and gave up. Not long after, Xiaoxi returned with a wild rabbit in his hand. However, Gu Yundong's sharp eyes saw that his sleeve had been cut. Moreover, the opening was neat and did not look like it was hooked by a tree branch. She stood up abruptly. "What happened? Did someone cause you trouble?" "It's nothing. It's just a misunderstanding. When I shot this rabbit just now, someone happened to flash past, and the arrow almost hit him. That person thought that I wanted to kill him, so he came over with his sword and fought with me. Don't worry, I explained it very quickly. Look, I'm not injured." Although he said that he was not injured, Gu Yundong was still worried. She pulled him around 2 or 3 times before confirming that he was indeed safe and sound. However, her brows were still furrowed. Why is that person so impulsive? What's his name? The next time I meet him, it'll definitely settle scores with him. His name is Gao Feng. He was just in a hurry. We had a good chat. Gao Feng? Gu Yundong was suddenly stunned. She thought for a moment and asked him, "You said that the person's name is Gao Feng? Is he tall and big, with thick eyebrows and big eyes? Does he look very difficult to get along with? Is his mouth a little thin and the sword sheath in his hand white?" Xiaoxi was surprised. "You know him? He's indeed like that." Gu Yundong felt that this was really fate. "I do know them. When I was escaping from the famine, I met two animals who committed inhuman crimes. I thought they were going to harm my younger siblings and wanted to get rid of them. I didn't expect them to take a fancy to Gao Feng and the others. At that time, we worked together to get rid of those two people." And Song Dajiang is also familiar with Gao Feng. In fact, Gu Yundong rarely talked about her escape, but Xiaoxi knew that it must have been an extremely difficult and heartbreaking journey. He wanted to know, but he didn't want her to remember these bad things, so he never asked. Only now did she understand that Gao Feng actually had such a relationship with her. He even gave Yundong and his family a bag of dry food. "In that case, he has done you a favor. If I had known earlier, I would have given this rabbit to him as a repayment." Gu Yundong had a strange look on his face. Was there a favor? Yes, there should be. She coughed lightly and quickly changed the topic. "He looks quite vigilant. I didn't expect you to hit it off at first sight. He even told you his name. Did he say where he was going?" "He said he's going to the Shuana Prefecture to look for someone." Looking for someone? Gu Yundong remembered that Song Dajiang had also mentioned that Gao Feng seemed to be looking for someone in a hurry. How long had it been? He still hadn't found the target? The person he was looking for was too well hidden. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1099. Arriving at Heyuan County, Gu Yundong thought that this person should be very important to Gao Feng. Unfortunately, in this era where communication was inconvenient, it was too difficult to find someone. Fortunately, the people she was looking for already had clues. Xiaoqing cooked the rabbit before the two of them finished eating and fell asleep. They were in the suburbs after all. Gu Yundong slept in the carriage while Xiaoqing kept watch outside. The next day, he entered the carriage to rest while Gu Yundong rode. 2 days later, the two of them finally arrived at Heyuan County. Heyuan County was too far from the prefectural city. Although it was lively during the day, it was still much behind Feng County. The houses on both sides of the road were very old, and there were many beggars on the street. All of them were staring at them eagerly. Gu Yundong and Xiaoqing were expressionless and looked straight ahead. They walked all the way to a good-looking inn in the county. They planned to rest here for the night and ask about the situation in Great Rock Village before picking up her uncle tomorrow morning. Although Mother Sue was married from Great Rock Village, she lived too far away after all. She had only gone back a year or two ago. After that, when her only relative in her family, her father, passed away in an accident, she went back to offer incense 4 years ago and did not come back again. Mother Sue's mother only had one daughter, so her father had once adopted a child in the family. However, that child was an ingrate who sowed discord between Mother Sue and her father. In short, their relationship was very bad. That was why Mother Sue had married so far away. After her father died, she would pretend that she did not have this family. Mother Sue was not very clear about the current situation in Great Rock Village. For years ago, when she went back to offer incense, she did not stay for long. However, she saw that Xiaoni's 2 uncles were indeed still alive. As for the current situation, Gu Yundong could only find out for himself. When the two of them arrived at the inn, they first asked Great Rock Village. Coincidentally, one of the employees of the inn was from the village next door to Great Rock Village. Although they were separated by 3 villages, he knew Great Rock Village very well. According to the shop assistant, Great Rock Village could be considered a large village. 100 years ago, it was formed by the merger of 2 villages. Therefore, this village mainly had 2 surnames, namely the Chong family and the Zhou family. Of course, there were also some villagers with scattered surnames who had moved here from other places. For example, there were 4 to 5 families living in Great Rock Village since 2 years ago. However, compared to Chang and Zhou, they did not have much say in the village. They only had to live their own lives. The two clans had about the same number of people in the village and could be considered evenly matched. When they first merged, they could be considered to be living in peace with each other. Occasionally, there would be intermarriage. However, more than 10 years ago, the two clans suddenly fell out. The waiter did not know the exact reason. In short, the two clans ignored each other and prohibited intermarriage. From time to time, they would secretly cause trouble for each other and often hit each other when they were down. Fortunately, although there were conflicts between them, it was not to the extent of killing someone. In short, they maintained a very delicate balance. However, in the past year, this balance gradually began to collapse. The two races began to attack each other. They were like fire and water, wishing they could chase the other clan out of Great Rock Village. Xiaoni's uncle's family was surnamed Zhou. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1100. Strange Great Rock Village. Gu Yundong could not help but frown when she heard the news. Gu Yundong did not know how her uncle was doing in Great Rock Village. Heyuan County was too far away, and her uncle did not even have any relatives. Especially in a situation where half the village was filled with people of the same clan, it was very easy for him to be wronged. When the time came, he would not even have anyone to talk to. Just look at Gu Village back then. Her father could not even split up the family, especially since uncle was an outsider to them. Most importantly, the Chang clan and the Zhou clan had a bad relationship now. What if uncle was implicated in the future? Therefore, Gu Yundong wanted to move youngest Uncle Gus' household register to Yongfu Village. However, she did not know who the chief of Great Rock Village was, whether it was the Chang family or the Zhou family. Would they make things difficult for them? When the waiter heard her ask about the village chief, he quickly said, "The village chief of Great Rock Village is not surnamed Zhou or Chang. He's an old man with the surname Su and is from another city." Back then, no one from the Zhou clan or the Chang clan was willing to let someone from the two clans be the village chief. This benefited him. However, this village chief Su is only in name. He can't control the Zhou clan or the Chang clan. Other than when the county office has an announcement or if they need him for something, he's not very useful. When Gu Yundong heard this, she was slightly relieved. The next morning, she went to Great Rock Village with Xiaoxi. Fortunately, Great Rock Village was not too far away. When they arrived, it was just noon, as they had heard from the shop assistant about the situation in Great Rock Village the day before. The two of them could not help but be more cautious when they visited. When they arrived at the entrance of Great Rock Village, they got off the carriage and asked the coachman hired from the county city to help take care of it. Then, they walked into the village. Compared to Yongfu Village, Great Rock Village was a little bigger. However, the road was not too flat, and the houses were shorter and older. That made sense. The two clans had fought for many years and were not united. It would be strange if the village was good. It would be much happier to have an old village chief in Yongfu Village who was dedicated to the benefits of the villagers and worked hard for them. The two of them walked and looked around. They passed by 3 to 4 houses, but they did not see a single person. Where did everyone in this village go? Moreover, it should be lunchtime, but the chimneys of these houses were not showing smoke. The two of them looked at each other and quickened their pace. Fortunately, they soon saw a figure. 2 people walked over. They were 2 women, one old and the other young. The old woman's face darkened. As she walked, she scolded the young woman, who should be her daughter-in-law. "Then why did you join in the fun about the Chang and Zhou families? Do you think our family's life in the village is too peaceful? You still go out at this hour and don't even cook lunch at home. How can I have a daughter-in-law like you? You'll get your boss to teach you a lesson later." The young wife looked aggrieved. She lowered her head and quickened her pace. Soon, she ran into a courtyard. Seeing that the old woman was about to enter, Gu Yundong hurriedly took a few steps forward and asked, "Aunt, may I ask how to get to Zhou Jinggui's house?" Zhou Jingui was the uncle of Xiaoni that Mother Su had mentioned. He should be the head of the family now. The old woman stopped in her tracks and looked up at Gu Yundong and his wife in surprise. "Who are you?" We heard that Zhou Jingui is familiar with the mountain roads. My husband wants to go into the mountains to hunt, so we want to hire him to lead the way for us and ask some questions. Please point us in the right direction. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:01. Something big happened for the sake of caution. They had thought of an excuse to look for Zhou Jingui first, so Xiaoxi also carried a bow and arrow on his back. However, the old woman frowned, as if she didn't want to get into trouble. Seeing this, Yundong quickly took more than 10 copper coins and stuffed them into her hands. "Aunt, help me." The old woman's expression changed. She put away the copper coins and turned to lead them into the village. Yundong and Xiaoxi looked at each other and hurriedly followed. It was indeed rare to see anyone along the way. For the sake of the 10 copper coins, the old woman said, "Something happened to Zhou Jinggui's family today. I advise you to come another day if you're not in a hurry." "What happened?" "You've seen it along the way. There's no one in the village. Everyone just ran to Zhou Jinggui's house to watch the commotion. That family," she stopped halfway. Yundong knew that this old lady was a person who would rather be carefree. She knew this from the moment she brought his daughter-in-law home. Hence, she did not ask further, but her footsteps could not help but become more hurried. After walking for a while, the old woman pointed not far away and said, "Do you see that? That door is filled with people. It's Zhou Jinggui's house. Go over yourself." "I won't go." With that, she turned around and left. "Thank you, Auntie. What are you thanking me for?" "I'm just leading the way." The old woman waved her hand and quickly walked away. Only then did Yundong and his wife continue to walk towards Zhou Jinggui's house. Unexpectedly, after taking a few steps, they suddenly realized that the group of people had moved. The villagers who were originally standing outside the Zhou family's door to watch the show stepped aside and let the people inside come out. Yundong did not recognize anyone. From their cries and their distinct appearance, they should be from the Chong and Zhou families. The two elders in front looked like the patriarchs of the two families. Beside one of the chiefs was a middle-aged man. Yundong heard someone call, "Uncle Jingui. Could that be Zhou Jingui?" Yundong looked up. "I wonder if youngest uncle is among these people." Zhou Jingui was Xiaoni's uncle. It seemed like something big had happened to her uncle's family. The other villagers were all here, so Xiaoni and Xiaoxi should be here too. However, they did not see Xiaoxi after looking for a long time. The two of them could only try their best to reduce their presence as they followed behind this group of people and listened to the excited voices of the crowd. However, their clothes were different from the villagers. A few villagers at the back sized them up curiously and asked, "Who are you?" "Oh, we went to the nearby mountains to hunt. We passed by Great Rock Village and felt a little thirsty, so we wanted to enter the village to ask for a glass of water. In the end, we saw that there was no one in the village. We only heard a big commotion here, so we came over to take a look." "What happened?" "That person was probably not from the Zhou family or the Chong family, so he said with a hint of excitement, 'Damn, you still don't know, right? A couple committed adultery and was caught by the man's wife. Coincidentally, the woman is from the Chong family and the man is from the Zhou family. Didn't the two families quarrel? That couple has been locked up in the ancestral hall for 2 days. The two families have finally discussed a solution and are going to settle them now. Adultery between a man and a woman? Furthermore, it was between the Zhou and Chong clans, which were like fire and water. This, if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:02. Uncle Gus Adultery? Yundong frowned and asked, "How will they handle matter?" The man clicked his tongue and said, "What can happen to adulterers? The man will be burned to death, and the woman will be sunk in the pond." Yundong's eyelids twitched, and her hand was grabbed by Xiaoxi. She raised her head and smiled at her. "I'm fine." She just felt that this method was too inhumane. Adultery was wrong, but to take someone's life in private. She blew out a breath and continued to follow the crowd. However, the villager beside her continued, Sigh. That Gu Xiaoxi is really suicidal. He married the Zhou family's daughter, who's quite pretty. Why do you think he messed with the Chong family? Gu Yundong suddenly grabbed his arm. Wait, what did you say just now? Who is suicidal? What's wrong? That person was stunned by her grip. This girl looked soft and weak. Why was she so strong? The people walking beside them were also attracted by the strange situation and turned to look. Xiaoxi hurriedly retracted Gu Yundong's hand, but his expression was equally solemn. He said, You just said that the man who committed adultery is called Gu Xiaoxi? Yes. Is there a problem? What's the problem? There was a huge problem. Gu Yundong pursed her lips tightly. The two of them stopped in their tracks at the same time. The person who spoke to them looked at them and felt puzzled. He quickly followed the crowd. As soon as they left, Gu Yundong and Xiaoxi looked at each other. It's impossible for my uncle to commit adultery. I know. Something must have happened. That person said that he was locked up in the ancestral hall. Let's go to the ancestral hall now and save him. Gu Yundong nodded. However, there were 2 ancestral halls in Great Rock Village, and they did not know where Gu Xiaoxi was. Just as Xiaoxi was about to capture that person again and ask him for his exact location, he saw that the large group of people in front had already stopped. From the commotion, they had already arrived at the ancestral hall. The two of them looked at each other and quickly walked to the alley beside them when no one was paying attention. They quickly circled to the back of the Zhou family's ancestral hall. The patriarchs of the Zhou and Chong families seemed to be talking at the entrance of the ancestral hall. This gave Gu Yundong and Xiaoxi a chance. The walls of the ancestral hall were slightly higher than ordinary houses, but it was not difficult for the two of them. Gu Yundong stepped on Xiaoxi's shoulder and jumped in. Xiaoxi turned around and entered. The Zhou family's ancestral hall was very clean. It seemed that even though Great Rock Village was poor, the two clans were not careless in this aspect. They probably wanted to suppress the other party. The two of them entered the courtyard of the ancestral hall. However, when they wanted to walk into the house again, they realized that there were 3 to 4 people guarding outside. Just put them down, Xiaoxi said. Gu Yundong was about to nod when the door of the ancestral hall opened. The two of them looked at each other and knew that it was too late. They could only suppress their restless hands for the time being. They hurriedly took a few steps back and hid behind a large vat in the courtyard. The door of the ancestral hall opened, but not many people entered. This was the Zhou family's ancestral hall. It was already an impressive matter to let the Chong family's patriarch and a few elders in. The other villagers could only stay outside. However, only the chief, Zhou Jingui, and a small number of people came in. The entire ancestral hall was extremely quiet. Chief Zhou led them to a small and dark room beside the main room of the ancestral hall. He stood still with his hands behind his back and gestured to the guards. Open the door. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:03. Wrong. The door opened, and a large amount of light instantly shone into the house, causing the person locked inside to slowly look up. Xiaoxi and Gu Yundong had already walked around to the window and quietly opened it crack. Then he saw Gu Xiaoxi lying on the ground with her face covered in wounds and clothes covered in blood. She widened her eyes and almost couldn't help but rush in. Xiaoxi quickly pressed her shoulder and said in a low voice, "Calm down first. Let's see the situation first." "But my uncle, I know, but there are only the two of us here, and the outside of the ancestral hall is filled with people from Great Rock Village. It's already difficult for us to reveal ourselves, let alone bring your seriously injured uncle. If we go in directly and forcefully barge in, I'm afraid uncle will be even more badly injured. His current situation is very bad." Gu Yundong was not someone who could not be reasoned with. She closed her eyes and slowly exhaled. "You're right. We can't be rash." After she calmed down, her thoughts instantly became clear. The Zhou and Chong families are not on good terms to begin with. It's best if we can find an opportunity to let them have a conflict, and we can take the opportunity to save my uncle. "Yes." Xiaoxi rubbed her head. "Don't worry, I'm here." "Yeah." Gu Yundong suppressed her surging emotions and continued to look inside. Only then did she notice that other than Gu Xiaoxi, there was another lady locked up in the house. The girl also looked a little disheveled. Her face might have been cut by someone's fingernail and was now covered in scabs. The other parts of her body were fine. It seemed like her injuries were not serious. However, the two of them were tied up by ropes. Gu Xiaoxi seemed to have been thrown to the ground. The lady was leaning against the wall. Hearing the commotion, the girl raised her head and looked at the Chong family head steadily. She said in a hoarse voice, "I was wronged." The Chong family's patriarch had a look of disappointment on his face. He sighed slightly and looked at the girl before turning his head away. When the girl saw him like this, the only light in her eyes slowly dissipated, turning into a dead silence. She suddenly shouted, "I was wronged. I didn't cheat with anyone. If you don't believe me, find a midwife to examine me. I'm innocent. I'm innocent." Enough. The Chong chief frowned. "Isn't it embarrassing?" Chief Zhou also said, "What's the use of a midwife? Even if you're still a virgin, it's only because you didn't have time to do anything. However, it's true that you and Gu Xiaoxi committed adultery. The evidence is conclusive. What else do you have to quibble about?" Evidence. Gu Xiaoxi raised her head with some difficulty and looked at Chief Zhou and Zhou Jingui. His voice was also hoarse. "What kind of bullsh**t evidence is that?" Zhou Jingui sneered. "Then tell her yourself." As he spoke, he shouted outside, "Come in." As soon as he finished speaking, a woman was brought in. When Gu Xiaoxi saw her, he struggled slightly and said, "Why don't you believe me? I didn't do anything to let you down. I didn't do anything." His mood suddenly escalated, and the wound at the corner of his mouth split open again. Blood flowed into his mouth, and the smell of rust filled his mouth. He felt that his entire heart was bitter. The woman suddenly cried out, looking heartbroken, "I saw it with my own eyes. I saw it with my own eyes. You slept with her, and you still say you didn't do anything to let me down? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1104. An arrow. Gu Xiaoxi closed her eyes. "Xiaoni, someone set me up." Hong Xiaoni was stunned. She looked up and rushed forward. "Someone set you up? Who was it? Was it her? It was Chong Yaya who framed you, right?" She pointed at the woman leaning against the wall and shouted. Gu Xiaoxi replied, "It's not her. You even said that you didn't have an affair with her. Even at this time, you're still defending her. You still say that you don't have her in your heart?" Gu Xiaoxi fixed his gaze on Hong Xiaoni. "I don't feel good blaming her for something I didn't do. You have a guilty conscience? In order to protect her, you don't even want me anymore, right? Have you forgotten how you promised my father?" Enough. Chief Chong was dissatisfied. He looked at Chief Zhou. "We had a good discussion in the house previously. Both sides are at fault in this matter. Are you going back on your word? Are you pushing the blame on us?" Chief Zhou shrugged and said helplessly, "You can't blame me for this. Xiaoni is too heartbroken. Women always refuse to believe that their husband betrayed them." Chief Chong was furious. This had happened too suddenly. Before the Chong family could react, the Zhou family had captured the two of them and locked them in the ancestral hall. For the past 2 days, they had been discussing how to resolve this matter. However, the matter was beneficial to the Zhou family, so they were very passive. In particular, the scene of the adultery was at Gu Xiaoxi and Hong Xiaoni's house. In other words, the Chong family's daughter had taken the initiative to come to their house and slept with Gu Xiaoxi, only to be caught by Hong Xiaoni on the bed. The Zhou family insisted that Chong Yaya had seduced Gu Xiaoxi and wanted to snatch the son-in-law from the Zhou family to humiliate the Zhou family. They even laid out a few pieces of evidence to prove that Chong Yaya was at fault. Chief Chong asked Chong Yaya, but Chong Yaya said that it was Hong Xiaoni who invited her to her house. The relationship between the Zhou and Chong families was so bad, how could Hong Xiaoni invite Chong Yaya as a guest? Everyone thought that she was looking for an excuse, and Chief Chong thought so too. Therefore, the two sides argued for 2 days. Chief Chong was at a disadvantage. In the end, he finally reached a consensus with Chief Zhou. It could be said that Gu Xiaoxi was stronger than Chong Yaya and raped her. This way, the other ladies of the Chong family would be less affected. As for Xiaoxi, he was not a member of the Zhou family anyway. He was only the husband of Zhou Jinggui's niece and had only come to Great Rock Village 2 years ago after escaping from the famine. He was the one at fault and did not affect the Zhou family much. However, the Chong family had to compensate the Zhou family with 600 caddies of food, and some places had to give in. After all, Chong Yaya had a relationship with Xiaoxi and still had to be dealt with. Chief Chong actually believed that Chong Yaya had not done such a thing. However, for the sake of the entire Chong family, Chong Yaya had no way out. After the discussion, the two clans came to take these two people out to deal with them, and this matter was over. The two of you have been convicted of adultery. The clans have decided to burn Xiaoxi to death and sink Chong Yaya into the pond. Chong Yaya's face was numb. However, after glancing at her eldest uncle, Zhou Jinggui, Hong Xiaoni suddenly burst into tears. Xiaoxi, you've let me down. You've let me down. Xiaoxi laid on the ground and looked at the ceiling. He suddenly smiled and said, "It's good that I'm dead. He'll go down and apologize to my brother and my sister-in-law and my nephews and nieces." Chief Zhou waved his hand. "Take them away." Immediately, two people came in and wanted to grab Xiaoxi, who was on the ground. With a swish, the sound of air being torn apart suddenly sounded. An arrow instantly streaked past in front of them and nailed to the wall with a clang. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:05. Let's see who dares to touch him. The people in the room were shocked. They widened their eyes and took a step back. Their gazes subconsciously focused on the arrow on the wall, whose tail was still trembling. "Who is it?" the Zhou and Chong clansmen suddenly shouted. The two villagers who had wanted to capture Xiaoxi and Chong Yaya didn't dare to move anymore. Everyone looked in the direction of the window and realized that the originally closed window had been opened at some point. A young man and woman were standing outside. The man held a bow in his left hand and drew another arrow from his quiver with his right hand. Aimed it straight at them. "Let's see who dares to touch them." Yundong turned around and entered the house. She looked coldly at the people on both sides of them. The Zhou and Chong family heads were shocked. They pointed at the strangers with trembling fingers and turned around to call for the people outside. "Come." Unexpectedly, just as he opened his mouth, the arrow in Xiao Qingyuan's hand shot out with a whoosh and landed on the wall between the two of them. Yundong sneered. "Don't shout or move. Otherwise, the next arrow will miss." She pulled back her sleeve, revealing the crossbow strapped to her arm. As she spoke, she saw from the corner of her eye that Zhou Jinggui, who was standing by the door, wanted to sneak out. She moved her arm, and the crossbow arrow brushed past his calf, drawing a large line of blood. He cried out in pain and knelt heavily on the ground. Hong Xiaoni wanted to scream, but when she saw the arrow pointing at her, her voice stopped. She swallowed in fear. Yundong said, "I've already warned you. Why don't you believe me? Does anyone else want to try calling for help?" No one dared to try. Although there were only two people on the other side, it was obvious that they were extraordinary people. They were also good at long-range attacks and were ruthless. They did not hesitate to shoot arrows. There were more than 10 people in the house. They were all ordinary villagers, and most of them were elders. They could not even walk properly, so how could they be their match? Even if they shouted loudly, due to the commotion outside the ancestral hall, others might not be able to hear them. Therefore, he could only stabilize them first and see what they were up to. This was the Zhou family's ancestral hall. Seeing that although the two of them had attacked, they had not really harmed anyone's life, Chief Zhou knew that they could still talk properly. Therefore, he secretly took a deep breath and said, "Who are you? Why have you appeared in our Zhou family's ancestral hall?" Chief Chong also said, "From the looks of it, you shouldn't be from the nearby villages. If you're just passers-by, it's better not to meddle in other people's business. This is a private matter of our village." In their opinion, these two people definitely had nothing to do with Xiaoxi and Chong Yaya. Xiaoxi was a person who had escaped from the Yundong prefecture. He had no relatives or friends. Chong Yaya was from Great Rock Village, so they knew all the people she interacted with. The two of them were dressed neatly and looked like they came from a rich family. They even had bows and arrows on them. Thinking about it, they should be young masters and young ladies from the county city or somewhere further away. When they came to this area to hunt, they happened to bump into this incident heading towards the ancestral hall. They were curious, so they came to take a look. Coincidentally, they did not hear the first part clearly. They only heard that the villagers were going to execute the two of them. Instantly, their sense of justice exploded and they stopped the villagers. Did they think that they were very noble to help when they saw injustice? That must be it. There were too many stories like this in the book. Everyone in the room was speculating with certainty. Who knew that Gu Yundong would suddenly turn around and quickly squat in front of Gu Xiaoxi? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1106. Uncle Yundong. Gu Xiaoxi knew that there were people in the house and what they had done. However, he knew that it was useless. How could outsiders interfere in the matters of such a large family? The unity of the clan was very terrifying and could not be challenged easily. Sometimes, even the county officials would not interfere. At most, the officials would give them a warning that they were not allowed to lynch, but who would listen? Gu village was like this in the past, and Gu Xiaoxi was all too clear about it. Hence, when he felt a shadow squatting beside him, he said in a hoarse voice, "You guys can leave. Don't get into trouble." Gu Yundong suddenly laughed and said in a low voice, "It wasn't easy for us to find you. How can we leave, Uncle?" Gu Xiaoxi was stunned, and there was a moment of confusion in his eyes. The next moment, he suddenly turned his eyes to look at her. In front of him was a familiar, yet unfamiliar face. In the past 2 years, he often thought of it. Sometimes it became clearer and clearer, and sometimes it became blurry. At this moment, this face was right in front of him, but he felt like he was dreaming again. He dreamed that she was chased out by her parents on the way to escape. When she was on her last breath, she called him, "Little uncle, save us." "Uncle Yundong, I'm still alive. We're all alive." Gu Yundong's voice was very soft, but seemed to explode beside his ear. Gu Xiaoxi suddenly came back to his senses. Tears filled his eyes as he muttered, "All alive? They're all alive? Yundong's sister-in-law, Yinshu, Kiki, are they still alive? Are they all well?" "Yes, we're all fine. You're the only one who's not around. That's why I'm bringing you back this time to reunite our family." She patted Gu Xiaoxi's arm gently. "Hold on for a while. We'll go home after the matter is resolved." With that, Gu Yundong stood up again. Her back was facing everyone. No one knew what she had said to Gu Xiaoxi, but the vigilance in their eyes grew stronger. Gu Xiaoxi bit the tip of his tongue hard with his teeth. It didn't hurt. It was probably a dream. Chief Zhou's angry voice suddenly sounded. "You two, it's better for you to leave quickly. This man and woman were caught on the spot for adultery in broad daylight. According to the rules of the clans, we have to execute them to avoid bringing shame to the clan. If you insist on interfering, not to mention that the people in our clan don't agree, even your reputation will be affected." The threat in his eyes was obvious. One had to know that the actions of the two people who saved the adulterous couple could not be said to serve justice. Gu Yundong looked at him sharply. "What adultery? Didn't you hear them say that they were wronged just now? The government office convicts people, and the criminals have to admit their crimes and sign the papers. But you guys, you ignore the person involved and came to kill them after discussing it among yourselves. Are you guys all right? You even said that you were the head of a clan. I think you're more like retards. You miss, don't push your luck." Chief Zhou was annoyed. "We have evidence." "Evidence? What evidence?" Gu Yundong sneered and pointed at Hong Xiaoni. "The evidence you're talking about can't be her testimony, right? She said that she saw them in bed with her own eyes, and you believe her? Then he'll say that she didn't like Gu Xiaoxi because he was too poor and wanted to get rid of him to find another man. That's why she deliberately framed him." Gu Yundong was just saying it casually. Unexpectedly, Hong Xiaoni's expression changed drastically and she suddenly lowered her head. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1107. What physical evidence is this? Yundong narrowed her eyes. This was interesting. She suddenly looked at Chief Chong. I think you should think about it carefully. Chief Chong was a little surprised to be suddenly mentioned. What are you thinking about? Think about what kind of person this girl from your Chong family is. Think about who suffered the most from this matter. Think about what is unreasonable about this matter. Yundong smiled. For example, the so-called witness is someone from the Zhou family, but the ones being persecuted are an outsider and a lady from the Chong family. Chief Chang's pupils constricted as he looked at the girl in front of him in surprise. From the meaning of her words, she should have heard everything from the outside of the window from the beginning, and she extracted the source of the matter from such a small piece of information. Previously, Chief Chong had been suppressed and scolded by the Zhou family. His mind was in a mess, especially since they had confirmed all the charges without giving them time to think and react. Next, they talked about compensation and punishment. At that time, Chief Chong only had one thought in his heart. He could not let this matter affect the reputation of the other girls in his clan. The sooner this matter was settled, the better. The other members of the Chong family had the same thought. They forced him to make a decision quickly, which resulted in this outcome. However, now that he had jumped out to take a look at the entire incident, he actually felt that something was wrong. Seeing him like this, Chief Zhou was furious. He pointed at Yundong and said, "What do you mean?" Of course, Xiaoni is not the only one with evidence. There's also physical evidence. What's the physical evidence? We found Xiaoxi's personal belongings in Chang Yaya's house. Yundong laughed. What kind of physical evidence is this? It's just a personal item. Then, if I secretly take any woman's clothes from the courtyard and put them in your house, would you have an affair with that woman? Chief Zhou was so angry that he fell backward. He said angrily, "The pouch made by Chang Yaya has Xiaoxi's name embroidered on the bottom." Yundong smiled and looked at Chief Chong. "Can Chang Yaya read?" Chief Chong narrowed his eyes. "No." Yundong looked at Chief Zhou, who explained, "Just because she can't read doesn't mean she can't embroider words on the pouch. If she has the heart, what's wrong with embroidering according to a picture of Xiaoxi's name? Then how can you be sure that the pouch was made by Chang Yaya? If someone wants to frame her, they can also place a pouch at her house." Chief Zhou gritted his teeth. "But someone has seen Chang Yaya deliver food to Xiaoxi before? That person is even a member of the Chong family." Chief Zhou looked at Chief Chong. The latter shook his hand. It was because of this last point that he finally gave in. Because the person who saw this scene was the son of one of the family's elders. This person could not be bribed. It was also the Zhou family who spoke aggressively first, causing this person to say this unintentionally. There was no room for negotiation. This last piece of evidence proved that they were indeed having an affair and that it was indeed disadvantageous to Chang Yaya and Xiaoxi. Yundong turned his head and looked at the girl leaning against the wall. The latter met her gaze and seemed to have regained hope. She said in a hoarse voice, "I did give something to Xiaoxi, but it was for Xiaoni. I only asked him to pass it to her." Xiaoni immediately retorted in a sharp voice, "I don't even know you well. Why will you give me something? I'm from the Zhou family, and you're from the Chong family. You don't even say a word. You're still using me as an excuse. Do you have a conscience? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1108. It'll add fuel to the fire. As she spoke, Xiaoni pounced at Chang Yaya. When she passed by Xiaoxi, she even wanted to step on his hand. Yundong was quick-witted and pushed Xiaoni away. "Get lost. Don't hurt my uncle." Xiaoni fell heavily to the ground, her tailbone almost broken. But even so, she still heard what she said clearly. Not only her, but everyone present was shocked by this shout. "Little uncle? Didn't Xiaoxi have no relatives? How could she have relatives? How is that possible?" Chief Zhou couldn't help but look at Xiaoni, who also looked stunned. After a while, her lips trembled slightly as she said, You're his niece? Yin, Yes, my name is Gu Yundong. Hong Xiaoni gasped. Yes, that was the name. It was a name that Gu Xiaoxi often mentioned. But how was that possible? How could the children and a foolish woman survive that disaster? Hong Xiaoni was in a daze, but Gu Yundong could no longer care about her. Because Gu Xiaoxi had a fever, he was in a daze. His eyes were half closed, and he couldn't even make a sound. Gu Yundong quickly took the fever medicine from her space and fed it to him. Heyuan still had a water bag hanging from his waist, so he untied it and gave him 2 sips of water. Gu Yundong blamed himself. When I patted Uncle's arm just now, I didn't feel that his body temperature was too high. I didn't expect him to have a fever so soon. I shouldn't have talked so much with them. I should have taken him away directly. If you don't talk to them, we won't be able to take Uncle away at all. If you talk to them about this, at least, he glanced at Chief Chong and laughed. It'll be much easier for us to take him away. Heyuan patted Gu Yundong. Take care of Uncle. It'll add fuel to the fire for Chief Chong. We have to take him away quickly. This place is cold and damp. It's not suitable for recuperation. Okay. Heyuan stood up and looked at the people in the room. Only then did he realize that 2 people were missing. They must have gone out to call for help. It did not matter. Even if the Zhou family came, the situation might not be beneficial to them. He looked at Chief Zhou and said, "Aren't you bullying Gu Xiaoxi because he's alone and has no one to help him?" Unfortunately, he's not alone anymore. He's our uncle. If you want to kill him, you have to ask if we agree. For a moment, Chief Zhou was speechless. He was frantically calculating the gains and losses in his heart. He had never expected things to develop to such an extent. Gu Xiaoxi's niece had appeared out of nowhere, and this niece was so domineering. No, they definitely couldn't let Gu Xiaoxi leave. Once he left, everything they had done previously would be for naught. So what if she was his niece? So what if they had bows and arrows in their hands? Outside the Zhou family's ancestral hall were their people. Thinking of this, a trace of ruthlessness flashed in Chief Zhou's eyes. Footsteps came from behind. The villagers who were outside the ancestral hall rushed in with hoes and shovels, instantly crowding the door of the house. Chief Zhou took a step back and said, "Gu Xiaoxi and Chang Yaya have indeed done something unforgivable. If you 2 outsiders want to interfere in the matters of our village, don't even think about leaving this ancestral hall today. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1109. We're not leaving. As he spoke, Chief Zhou waved his hand and said to the villagers behind him, "Arrest these 2 people who deliberately caused trouble and trespassed into the Zhou family's ancestral hall." The villagers behind him were eager to give it a try, but the Chong clansmen could not help but look at Chief Chong, who was a little hesitant. Just as he was not sure which side he was on, Heyuan suddenly took out something and slammed it forward. "Let's see who dares to come over." The villagers were shocked by his aura and stopped in their tracks. They looked at the thing in Heyuan's hand. They didn't recognize it. However, he did not recognize it. The expressions of the heads of the Zhou and Chong families changed drastically after taking a look. Heyuan looked at them. "The 2 patriarchs are knowledgeable. You should know this thing, right?" Fish talisman. Chief Zhou's pupils constricted. He raised his head and asked in shock, You are..." Chief Chang's eyes lit up and he instantly stood his ground. If the 2 of them were a man and a woman without any background or foundation, after they barged into the Great Rock Village alone and even openly expressed their relationship with Gu Xiaoxi, they did not take the 2 clansmen seriously at all. They were brave, but not resourceful. Moreover, they were alone and did not have much use. Even if Patriarch Chong was on their side, they did not have the confidence to win. However, things are different now. This person had a fish talisman and was an official of the imperial court. Since they were Gu Xiaoxi's relatives, they definitely wouldn't let Gu Xiaoxi bear the crime of adultery. They would definitely let him be innocent. Since Gu Xiaoxi's crime was gone, the crime of adultery with Chang Yaya was naturally not established. Then they would be able to take back all the benefits that the Chong family had given to the Zhou family. However, the fierceness in Chief Zhou's eyes intensified. However, he did not dare to harm the officials of the imperial court. If these two people dared to come to Great Rock Village alone, their people must be waiting not far away. After Yuyuan added fuel to the fire, he turned around and squatted down, carrying Gu Xiaoxi on his back. Gu Yundong thought for a moment and helped Chang Yaya up. Chang Yaya looked at her in surprise. Gu Yundong smiled at her. "Let's go. We'll talk outside." However, Chief Zhou gritted his teeth and stood in front of them. He said indignantly, "You can't leave. Even if you're an official of the imperial court, it's a fact that Gu Xiaoxi and Chang Yaya have committed adultery. Even if we can't carry out the death sentence, they have to be punished according to the rules." Yuyuan looked at Chief Chang. "What do you think?" Chief Chang laughed. "I heard it clearly just now. The few pieces of evidence are indeed a little shaky. As for the last piece of evidence, now that Chang Yaya and Hong Xiaoni both have their own arguments, no one can be convinced. I think this matter needs to be investigated again. After all, human lives are at stake. We can't act rashly. No matter what, we have to let the truth be revealed. Chief Zhou, don't you think so? You the shameless old thief." However, the other elders of the Chang family nodded repeatedly. "That makes sense. I felt that something is wrong. There's indeed a need to investigate again." "Of course." Chief Chang turned to Yuyuan and said, "Before the truth comes out, you can't leave Great Rock Village. After all, Gu Xiaoxi is still a suspect." "Of course we won't leave. I won't let my uncle leave dejectedly with great injustice on his back. I will bring my uncle away fair and square," Gu Yundong said with narrowed eyes. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 11:10. She's guarding against him, but my uncle is injured and has a high fever. This Zhou family's ancestral hall is obviously not suitable for recuperation. Can Chief Chang arrange a place for us to stay in temporarily? As Gu Yundong spoke, she saw that Chief Zhou was about to object and immediately stopped him. "Of course, if Chief Zhou is worried, you and Chief Chang can find a few villagers to watch over us. We promise not to leave. We'll wait for you to find out the truth. How about that?" "Not so good." Chief Zhou naturally wanted to refuse. Unfortunately, Chief Chang had agreed, and the two people in front of him were so domineering. If he stopped them again, everyone would think that he had a guilty conscience. Therefore, he could only nod in agreement with a dark expression. The two chiefs had no objections, and the villagers automatically made way. Yuyuan carried Gu Xiaoxi, who was half unconscious, and Gu Yundong helped Chang Yaya out of the Zhou family's ancestral hall. In the end, the heads of the Zhou and Chang families agreed to let them stay at Gu Xiaoxi's house for the time being. Although Gu Xiaoxi had brought Hong Xiaoni to seek refuge with her uncle back then, he had no intention of marrying into her family. Hence, he built a house himself. Although it was not big, it was much better than living in someone else's house. Hong Xiaoni temporarily moved into her uncle Zhou Jingwa's house. Gu Yundong, Yuyuan, Gu Xiaoxi, and Chang Yaya stayed in the Gu house. Of course, the Zhou and Chang families also sent 3 people to watch over the courtyard. They also sent 3 people to guard the outside of the courtyard. Gu Yundong was also very speechless. Did these villagers have nothing better to do? Were there no jobs in the fields? Chief Chang was now on Gu Yundong's side, and Yuyuan was an official of the imperial court, so his attitude was very good. Seeing that Gu Xiaoxi was injured and sick, he hurriedly asked, "There's a doctor in our village. We'll get someone to invite him over." Yuyuan refused. "No need. We can treat him ourselves." He was already familiar with the treatment of such common illnesses. He was probably even better than the doctors in the village. Chief Chang looked at him in surprise. He nodded and left with Chief Zhou. Yuyuan sent them out. However, just as they stepped out of the door, he suddenly stopped and released a firework bomb into the air. The fireworks shot up with a whoosh and exploded in the sky. The Zhou and Chang clan chiefs were shocked and looked at him in shock. Yuyuan was expressionless. "It's nothing. I just told my subordinates that we're safe for the time being. If they don't receive my signal tomorrow, They can bring people in to search the village. Chief Zhou sucked in a breath of cold air. He was guarding against him. Chief Chang, on the other hand, was very happy. He turned around and left. Heyuan went straight back to the house. The fireworks were naturally not meant to inform his subordinates. He only told the coachman waiting outside the village to return to the inn first and come back tomorrow. He and Yundong would be prepared when they entered such a village where the clansmen were united. If they encountered danger, there would be more than one firework bomb. When the coachman saw it, he would report to the officials for him. Xiaoxi was still having a fever in the house. After Heyuan came in, he quickly checked on him. After taking Yundong's fever medicine, his temperature was slowly decreasing, but there were still many injuries on his body. He let Yundong and Chang Yaya go out first, then bandaged Xiaoxi's wound. Yundong had wanted to ask about Chang Yaya, but she looked haggard and her lips were dry. She must have been hungry for the past 2 days. The Zhou family was too inhumane. Youngest uncle's situation was probably the same, so Yundong went straight into the kitchen. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:11. Don't worry, Accompany Yu Chang Yaya followed behind her, but her body was on the verge of collapse. Yundong did not let her work. She searched the kitchen for a long time before she finally found a small bag of sweet potatoes. Yundong frowned and squatted on the ground. Seeing this, Chang Yaya thought that she did not know how to cook and was about to say that she would do it herself. Unexpectedly, Yundong suddenly stood up and said to the guard in the courtyard, "I need rice, millet, white flour, and some vegetables. Which family has them? I don't need too much." The 6 people in the courtyard looked at each other. For a moment, no one spoke. Yundong could only take out a small piece of silver. "In paying, my family has it." The first to speak were a few members of the Chang family. Before the patriarch left, he had instructed that although they were watching over people, these two were on the same side with them. They would help if they could. The most important thing was to guard against the 3 from the Zhou clan. The people of the Zhou family and the other 2 were actually envious. The Great Rock village was very poor. Who wouldn't want to earn money? However, this person had trespassed into the Zhou family's ancestral hall. His crimes were unforgivable, so when he saw the people of the Chang family taking the money obsequiously, he immediately mocked. How embarrassing. You've never seen the world. The 3 Chang family members turned around and glared at them. "Why? Do you want to fight?" "Yeah, let's fight." Yundong. In the end, they did not fight. All 3 of them had leaders and knew that now was not the time to cause trouble. The Chang family went back to get the things she wanted, but the quality of the things they brought was a little poor. However, they had no choice. This was probably the best rice and noodles they had. Later, when Chang Yaya was not paying attention, she would take out a portion of the food in the space to exchange for it. She took the things into the kitchen and let the weak Chang Yaya sit behind the stove to help set up the fire. The 6 people in the courtyard were a little puzzled. Did this girl know how to cook? Did she know how to use the stove in the countryside? Why did she look so unreliable? However, very quickly, the sound of vegetables being cut could be heard from the kitchen. Then, there was another sound. Not long after, the fragrance wafted out. The 6 of them sniffed hard. So fragrant, so fragrant. It's much more fragrant than my wife's. What is this made of? They did not enter the kitchen to take a look, but it was also very torturous in the courtyard. Yundong cooked porridge and a few light dishes. Although there was no meat, the Chang family brought her a fish. It was quite fresh and should have just been caught out of the water. Yundong steamed the fish. After all, she had to prioritize taking care of the 2 injured. By the time the porridge was ready, the 4 dishes and the soup were also done. Yundong carried the food back to the room. When she passed by the courtyard, the fragrance made the 6 of them swallow their saliva. They had not eaten lunch yet. Why had their wives not sent food over? When she entered the house, she saw Heyuan pouring out a basin of water. Xiaoxi's injuries were all right. It was said that she was caught in bed for adultery. Perhaps because she was covered by a blanket when she was beaten up, she did not have any internal injuries. It was just that her external injuries were a little serious. It was mainly because his body was already sick from overwork. After being beaten up, he was locked in the dark ancestral hall to be exposed to the wind. He starved for 2 days before he fell unconscious with a fever. Gu Yundong's expression darkened when she heard Xiaoxi words. "I'll get this back. Don't worry, they'll accompany you." Xiaoxi held her hand gently. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 11:12. It's really Yundong. Changyaya looked at the friendship and tacit understanding between the two of them, and a trace of envy subconsciously flashed in her eyes. At this moment, a faint sound came from the bed. Gu Yundong quickly turned her head and saw Gu Xiaoxi frowning and opening his eyes with a heavy heart. He looked up at the roof beams, his face blank. This was his home? Why was he here? Wasn't he in the Zhou family's ancestral hall? Wasn't he going to be burned to death as a warning to others? Could it be that he was already dead, but his soul had floated to his house? Why didn't he float to the netherworld and let him find his eldest brother and niece? Something was wrong. Gu Xiaoxi suddenly frowned. In the ancestral hall, he seemed to have vaguely heard a voice saying that she was Yundong and calling him little uncle. Uncle. Gu Yundong called him twice, but realized that he had been in a daze and had no reaction. She immediately became anxious. Could it be that she was confused by the high fever? But it had only been such a short time. How could it be? "Uncle, can you hear me? Are you feeling unwell?" This time, the voice was clearer. Gu Xiaoxi was shocked. His eyes darted around and landed on Gu Yundong's face. Yundong? Gu Yundong heaved a huge sigh of relief and laughed happily. "It's me, Uncle. Yundong. Don't worry, they'll take you away from the ancestral hall. It's just that you're running a high fever now, so we'll stay in Great Rock Village. When you're better, we'll bring you home." He heard it clearly. This time, he heard everything clearly. Gu Xiaoxi sat up abruptly. Halfway through, he suddenly felt dizzy and fell back heavily. Halfway down, he was supported by Xiaoxi. "Uncle, you're sick. Don't move around and don't be too agitated." How could he not be excited? After the dizziness subsided, Gu Xiaoxi grabbed Gu Yundong's hand. Her eyes were moist and her cheeks were red. "It's really Yundong. You're not dead." No. Gu Yundong could only sit on the edge of the bed and comfort him. "Am I the only one who's not dead? My mother, Yin Shu, and Yunke are all fine. They've both grown taller now. All right, there's also my father and eldest aunt's father, Yuanji. They're in the Shuana prefecture now. We haven't returned to the Gu family village. We've been looking for you for the past 2 years, but we haven't heard from you. This time, when we accidentally found out that you were in Great Rock Village, father and eldest aunt clamored to pick you up. However, I persuaded them to go home, and I came here on their behalf." Home? Gu Xiaoxi could no longer control himself. Tears streamed down his face, and he could not wipe them away even if he wanted to. He was actually not old. In the past, when he was in Gu village, even though his mother did not like him, his elder brothers and sisters doted on him like a son. Even though he suffered, he still had a sharp spirit. However, in the 2 years since he escaped from the famine, be it psychologically or physically, he had been living like an old man, numb day after day. However, after seeing Yundong and hearing her say that everyone was safe, this numbness seemed to have been swept away. Gu Xiaoxi felt that the shackles on his body were instantly removed, and he felt unprecedentedly relaxed and carefree. He wanted to go home, especially. Gu Yundong took out a handkerchief and handed it to him. "Uncle, it's all right. We'll be reunited when you get home." "Yes, let's go home. Let's go home." He took the handkerchief and wiped it forcefully. After wiping it, he felt embarrassed and asked impatiently, "Yundong, when did you arrive at Shuana Prefecture? How did you meet eldest brother and eldest sister?" If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:13. Nephew-in-law of the same age. Gu Yundong was helpless. Didn't he know that he was still sick? Wouldn't he feel dizzy and uncomfortable after asking so many questions? "Uncle, there's no hurry. I'll tell you slowly. We have other things to settle now. Have you forgotten? Xiaoxi was stunned. That's right, they were still in Great Rock Village. He suddenly became nervous. Yundong, leave quickly. The Zhou family wants to kill me this time. They'll implicate you. Don't worry, we brought you out of the ancestral hall. We definitely have a way to escape. As for you, eat something and recuperate well. Then tell me the cause and effect of the matter. We'll discuss it together. Xiaoxi handed over a bowl of porridge at the right time. Yundong scooped a small spoonful and blew on it before feeding it to Xiaoxi. Xiaoxi's gaze landed on Xiaoxi, who was behind her. This is Xiaoxi, my fiancé. We're already engaged. Xiaoxi's eyes suddenly widened. If he hadn't been leaning against the headboard, he would have fallen back onto the bed. Engaged? He was instantly nervous, especially when he saw that Xiaoxi seemed to be very well off. He was afraid that he would embarrass Yundong, so he did not dare to speak for a moment. Seeing this, Xiaoxi thought for a moment and took the bowl from Yundong's hand. He said, "Ill-feed uncle. Go eat first. We'll talk about other things after that." Yundong nodded, got up, and walked to the table. She first served a bowl to the motionless Yaya. Yaya was stunned. She raised her head and looked at her in surprise. "Eat it. I see that you don't have any strength at all. Drink some to warm your stomach first. No matter what, we're on the same side now. You can't starve to death before we wash off the dirty water on you." Yaya pursed her lips and reached out to take it. She lowered her head and whispered, "Thank you." Yundong did not say anything else. She and Yaya faced each other and ate quietly. Seeing that she only ate porridge, Yundong sighed and could only put a large piece of food into her bowl. Yaya lowered her head even more. Beside the bed, Xiaoxi and Xiaoxi fell into a strange silence. Xiaoxi looked at her nephew-in-law, who was about the same age as her, who was holding a spoon carefully. She instantly felt even more dizzy. Fortunately, Xiaoxi was patient. As he fed him, he whispered to divert his attention, "Uncle, don't worry. Although the Zhou family and the Chong family are the main forces in Great Rock Village, as long as they don't get along, they will be like loose sand and won't pose much of a threat to us. Now that the Chong family is on our side, the Zhou family won't have an advantage and won't be able to gain anything. Moreover, we have helpers. If we really can't leave, the government office will send people to deal with this matter." Sure enough, Xiaoxi listened to him. Not long after, he finished half a bowl of porridge. When he was almost done eating, Xiaoxi came back with a bowl and started to finish his lunch. Xiaoxi leaned against the headboard of the bed and could not help but smile when he saw his niece busy and lively. Yundong closed the door after seeing that he was in better spirits and that the heat had almost subsided. The 6 people outside the door were only asked to watch from the courtyard. So although they found it strange that the prisoners closed the door and wanted to say something, with the other party holding them back, no one dared to eavesdrop. Yundong and the others formed a circle and began to talk about the whole story of the adultery case. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:14. Suspicious Hong Xiaoni. Xiaoxi had followed Hong Xiaoni to Great Rock Village to seek refuge with her uncle. However, the Zhou family did not welcome them. A niece they had never seen before had suddenly come all the way to their house to be taken care of. She had even brought Xiaoxi along. Wasn't that causing trouble? However, the Zhou family had a sworn enemy in the village, the Chong family. Xiaoxi and Hong Xiaoni were both refugees. At that time, the imperial court had special treatment for refugees. If the Chong family made an issue out of this matter, wouldn't the Zhou family be in trouble? Hence, the Zhou family left Hong Xiaoni and Xiaoxi behind. At that time, Xiaoxi had not given up on looking for Yundong's family. Hence, she did not plan to stay in the village at the start. He thought that if the Zhou family treated Hong Xiaoni well, he would temporarily entrust the Zhou family to take care of her. If not, he would take Hong Xiaoni with him. It was obvious that the Zhou family treated Hong Xiaoni very badly. They had lived in the Zhou family for 2 days, but they had been tortured openly and secretly. Gu Xiaoxi had promised Father Hong that he would take care of Hong Xiaoni, so he wanted to leave with her. Unexpectedly, at this moment, Hong Xiaoni fell ill. She was so ill that she almost couldn't make it. How could Gu Xiaoxi leave? She could only stay and take care of her while thinking of ways to earn money to support her family. However, Hong Xiaoni's illness never recovered. It wasn't until a year later that Gu Xiaoxi realized that something was wrong. He vaguely felt that Hong Xiaoni might not be that seriously ill. She was just afraid that he would leave and go to the Gu family. So she used this method to drag him and let him settle down in Great Rock Village. However, he had no evidence. In any case, the doctor had sworn that Hong Xiaoni was not in good health and could not go through a long journey. However, even if he confirmed that Hong Xiaoni was pretending to be sick, he couldn't blame her. After all, he had promised Father Hong that he would take care of her. Hong Xiaoni was just afraid. He had let down his eldest brother. If he failed Father Hong's mission again, how could he have the face to live? The days passed unhurriedly until a few days ago, Gu Xiaoxi realized that Hong Xiaoni had suddenly gotten close to Zhou Jinggu. When she asked her, she said that her eldest uncle had suddenly realized that he had to treat her well, so he would occasionally call her over to talk to her aunt. However, eldest uncle didn't like Gu Xiaoxi. He felt that the two of them had been too hasty back then. Moreover, her father had died to save Gu Xiaoxi. Eldest uncle seemed to be venting his anger on her. Hence, Hong Xiaoni did not bring Gu Xiaoxi to eldest uncle's house for the time being. After he persuaded eldest uncle, the two of them would visit as husband and wife. Gu Xiaoxi was quite happy when she heard that. After all, Zhou Jinggu and his brother were Hong Xiaoni's closest relatives in Great Rock Village. It would naturally be good if they could ease their relationship. He didn't think much of it and also advised her to visit her uncle more often. It was good for her health. Unexpectedly, 2 days ago, he felt uncomfortable, so he did not get off the bed. He lay on the bed to rest and asked Hong Xiaoni to help call the village doctor. Hong Xiaoni agreed and went out. Unexpectedly, she did not return for a long time. Gu Xiaoxi lay in the house and waited for a long time before she finally fell asleep in a daze. He vaguely heard some movement in the middle, but his eyelids were too heavy at that time, and he could not open them at all. When he woke up again, he saw Chang Yaya lying beside him in only her undergarments. Before he could react, the door was suddenly pushed open and Hong Xiaoni entered. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:15. Their friends. Not only did Hong Xiaoni come in, but she also appeared with the village doctor. She didn't even give Gu Xiaoxi time to react before she rushed over and hit them. Chang Yaya also woke up. The wound on her face was dug by Hong Xiaoni's fingernail. After the commotion, the Zhou family, who had heard the commotion outside, rushed in. Zhou Jinggu even brought his son and beat him up fiercely. In the end, he tied the two of them up. Gu Xiaoxi and Chang Yaya were dumbfounded. Then, Hong Xiaoni burst into tears. The two chiefs rushed over and shouted at them. The villagers pointed at them. Gu Xiaoxi subconsciously said that he was wronged. He only said that he was unwell and was lying on the bed. That was all he said when he woke up. However, the doctor took his pulse and said that his body was healthy and there was no problem. The two of them were caught in bed and brought to the Zhou family's ancestral hall for 2 days and 2 nights. Gu Yundong and Xiaoqing frowned. Why do I feel that this doctor is quite suspicious? Is he from the Zhou family? No, he's an outsider. There were outsiders in the village, but the possibility of them being bribed was also very high. Gu Yundong could not help but look at Chang Yaya. What about you? When we were talking about evidence, you said that you had sent something to my uncle. What was that about? Chang Yaya smiled bitterly. I was deceived by Hong Xiaoni. I didn't have many friends since I was young. When Hong Xiaoni took the initiative to approach me, although I was puzzled, she said that her uncle was a member of the Zhou family, and she wasn't. Her maiden family surname was Hong, and her in-law's surname was Gu. Therefore, she didn't want to get involved in the Zhou and Chang family's matters. She only wanted to live her own life and make friends. Chang Yaya was quite happy. Just like that, the two of them quietly became friends. However, She did not tell anyone. After all, in the eyes of outsiders, Hong Xiaoni was a member of the Zhou family. She had not had an easy time in Great Rock Village, and Changyaya did not want her to be blamed by her uncle's family. She had been wholeheartedly planning for Hong Xiaoni, but she did not expect to be tricked. She didn't know why Gu Xiaoxi's undergarments would appear in her house, but it was too easy for someone to put them in her house. She didn't know why Gu Xiaoxi's name was embroidered on her purse. She had indeed embroidered that purse, but one day, she suddenly couldn't find it. When it appeared again, she only heaved a sigh of relief and didn't look carefully at the very small words embroidered on the purse. But no one believed her. As for her sending food to Gu Xiaoxi, that was because Hong Xiaoni said that she suddenly wanted to eat the pickled radishes she made. Her appetite had not been good recently, and her mouth was tasteless. As a friend, Changyaya naturally ran home in a hurry to make pickled radishes for her. However, when she brought the pickled radishes over, she was not at home. Only Gu Xiaoxi was there. She handed the bowl of pickled radishes to Gu Xiaoxi and asked him to pass it to her. However, in the eyes of outsiders, she was the one who took the initiative to stuff the food into the hands of the confused Gu Xiaoxi. However, Changyaya remembered that no one was nearby at that time. Who would have thought that an elder's son happened to pass by and saw it? The encounter had become evidence of others saying that they had a private relationship. Gu Yundong tapped her fingers on the table. So you appeared at the Gu house 2 days ago to look for Hong Xiaoni? Yes, she said that there's no one at home. There's a very rare thing at home. I'm her friend, so she specially brought me to see it. In the end, after drinking a glass of water at the Gu residence, she felt dizzy. How could she not understand now? This was all planned by Hong Xiaoni. At this moment, Hong Xiaoni was also in the Zhou family, anxiously thinking of a countermeasure with Zhou, Jingui, and the others. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:16. Zhou family's plan. None of the Zhou clansmen expected that something like this would suddenly appear out of nowhere. Moreover, it was such a powerful figure that they were helpless against. In an instant, they felt extremely aggrieved. Chief Zhou was especially angry. He asked Hong Xiaoni, "That's really Gu Xiaoxi's niece. Are you sure?" She said that her name is Gu Yundong, so there's no mistake. Hong Xiaoni said, "She looks about the same age. I reckon that she met a benefactor on the way to escape. That's why she's living so well." Speaking of this, Hong Xiaoni was a little jealous. They were both in their teens, but why did she meet a good-for-nothing man like Gu Xiaoxi? The heavens were unfair to her. Zhou Jingui was a little anxious. "Patriarch, now is not the time to talk about this. Previously, Patriarch Chong said that he would bring over the food that was compensated to us, but in the end, he doesn't want any more. Things are not good for us. If we have to compensate them instead, we will suffer a huge loss." "All right, you don't have to remind me. I know," Chief Zhou said impatiently. He was even more frustrated as he tapped his fingers on the table. After a while, he asked the 3 elders, "What do you think? What other ideas can there be? I told you we shouldn't have acted so recklessly back then. The Chong family isn't stupid. After this matter is over, they will find out. When the time comes," Patriarch Zhou slammed the table and his eyes widened. "What's the use of saying this now? You've already done it. Can you reverse the time?" The elder shut his mouth and didn't dare to speak. The other elders also said softly, "I think it's better to just let it go and say that it's a misunderstanding. I think that couple definitely won't let Gu Xiaoxi be charged with adultery. That man is an official of the imperial court and especially values his reputation." Chief Zhou was also thinking about this, which was why he was in such a dilemma. However, it was easier said than done to say that it was a misunderstanding. The Chong family would be the first to force them to bleed. Knock, knock. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Zhou Jingui went to open the door. The person who came in was a villager guarding the Gu family's courtyard. Chief Zhou asked him, "What happened to them?" "Nothing much happened. They just spent 1 tael of silver to buy some rice, noodles, fish, and vegetables from the Chong family." The villager who spoke sounded a little jealous. In the end, he asked, "Chief, if they buy something again, Can we sell food to them? Chief Zhou waved his hand. If I tell you to watch over them, just watch over them. Why are you staring at that small sum of money? The villagers could only leave. However, as soon as he left, the few people in the room started discussing. They gave one tael of silver for just some rice, noodles, and fish dishes. They're really generous. That's right. That man is an official. One look, and I can tell that the two of them are dressed well. Their family definitely doesn't lack money. I thought Gu Xiaoxi had no relatives or friends. I didn't expect him to have such a rich niece now. The few of them were whispering to each other. Chief Zhou's face was ashen. On the other hand, Zhou Jingwi's eyes suddenly lit up. He said softly, "Actually, there's another way." "What way? Tell me." Seeing how confident he was, Chief Zhou was immediately interested. Zhou Jingui glanced at Hong Xiaoni and said, "Xiaoni is still Gu Xiaoxi's wife now. Wouldn't that couple be her juniors? As long as Xiaoni and Gu Xiaoxi live a good life in the future, everyone will be a family. How can a family not help each other? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1117. Unwilling to be divorced. Chief Zhou instantly perked up. "You mean, Chief, not only is that man and woman rich and powerful, they're much better than the Qiu family in the county. Moreover, that woman seems to be very concerned about Gu Xiaoxi, her uncle. She definitely won't treat him badly in the future. When Xiaoni follows her husband, won't she have a good life? We can also have some soup." Chief Zhou lowered his eyes and pondered. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it would work. Among their clansmen, there was a big shot who was an official of the imperial court. Was there a need to be afraid of not being able to suppress the Chong family? They would probably be in charge of the entire Great Rock Village. The problem was, he looked at Hong Xiaoni. Is Gu Xiaoxi still willing to be her husband? However, Hong Xiaoni was full of confidence. "Chief, don't worry. I know Gu Xiaoxi. He promised my father that he would take care of me, and he won't go back on his word. Moreover, he didn't know that I was involved in this matter from the beginning to the end. Even in the ancestral hall, just now, I only said that she was lying to Chong Yaya. In front of Gu Xiaoxi, she had always looked like she was heartbroken and had never revealed anything in front of him. As for Chong Yaya, so what if she told the truth? I just have to insist that she's lying and that she seduced my husband. We're not friends at all. I'm Gu Xiaoxi's wife who has been together for nearly 2 years. Chong Yaya has only known Gu Xiaoxi for a few days. He'll definitely believe me." Chief Zhou thought about it and felt that it made sense. "That's fine too. Take the initiative to look for Gu Xiaoxi. Tell her that you were too impulsive previously and didn't believe him. Now that you've come to your senses, you realize that he's also a victim. Go and apologize properly and ask him to forgive you. There's no overnight feud between husband and wife. He's also an honest person. If his heart softens, he'll forgive you. When the time comes, he'll push all the blame to Chong Yaya. Gu Xiaoxi is innocent, so that couple naturally won't continue to harp on it. After all, you're their little Andy. They still want you and Gu Xiaoxi to be harmonious. Helping you is better than helping an outsider." Hong Xiaoni nodded. "He'll go now." She was eager to give it a try. Under the subtle instructions of Chief Zhou and Zhou Jingui, her eyes were red and swollen. She carried a basket of vegetables and walked out of the Zhou family's door. Hong Xiaoni's expression was sad, but her footsteps were light. That's right. She had indeed set Gu Xiaoxi up with the Zhou family. For the past 2 years, Hong Xiaoni had almost never been to the fields because of her illness. Most of the work at home was done by Gu Xiaoxi. Hence, her skin was fair and tender at home. Other than being a little thin from eating too much, she looked better than the women in the village. A few days ago, Anne wanted to go to the county to buy something, so she found an excuse to go with her. She had been in Great Rock Village for nearly 2 years, but she had only gone to the county twice or thrice because Gu Xiaoxi felt that she was weak and did not allow her to go out. This time, with Eldest Anne around, he agreed. Unexpectedly, she met the young master of the Qiu family the moment she arrived at the county city. Coincidentally, the young master of the Qiu family liked her weak and delicate appearance. He immediately wanted to take her as his concubine. The Zhou family in the county was a wealthy family. Compared to Xiaoxi, who was so poor that she only had 2 sets of clothes, it was better to be a maid in her family than in the Gu family. Therefore, Xiaoni was tempted. However, she was already married, unless Xiaoxi divorced her, which would affect her reputation. How could she be willing to be divorced? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:18. Hidden Thoughts. Zhou Jingui had given her a warning. He wanted Xiaoxi to take the initiative to make a mistake. It would be best if she could directly kill Xiaoxi. Anyway, no one would care even if he died. That was not all. Chief Zhou and Zhou Jingui felt that not only could they use this opportunity to get close to the Qiu family in the county, but they could also ruthlessly suppress the Chong family. After some selection, they had their eyes on Chong Yaya. Chong Yaya was a member of the Chong family, but her life was not very good. Her parents died when she was born. Her grandmother said that she was a jinx, causing her to have no friends since she was young. Even the Chong family avoided her. Grandmother Chong did not like this granddaughter, but she only had one son, and that was the only granddaughter her son left behind. Hence, while she beat and scolded Chong Yaya, she could only rely on her. It could be said that she destroyed Chong Yaya's reputation single-handedly, but she was also the one who raised Chong Yaya safely. 2 years ago, her grandmother passed away. She was the only one left in her family. Such a candidate could not be more suitable. Chong Yaya was already at the age of marriage and did not have any elders to help her. It was normal for her to fancy the hardworking and willing Xiaoxi. The two of them would definitely not have a good ending after being caught in the act. At that time, Xiaoni could say to the Qiu family, "My family is poor and doesn't have money to treat illnesses. My health fluctuates. Therefore, although I've been married to Xiaoxi for nearly 2 years, I've never let him touch me. In the end, I didn't expect him to be unable to hold back and find another girl. He's free to look for her as long as he divorces me. He can look for anyone he wants. However, he's afraid of being chased out of Great Rock Village by the Zhou family, so he can only trap me while having an ambiguous relationship with another girl." Yes, Xiaoni and Xiaoxi had been married for nearly 2 years and were still innocent. It wasn't that Xiaoni didn't want Xiaoxi to touch her. It was just that she had started to pretend to be sick not long after she came to Great Rock Village. Xiaoxi wasn't a beast who insisted on becoming husband and wife with her when she was still sick. However, Xiaoni also wanted to leave a way out, so the two of them had been in-name husband and wife for so long. Young Master Qiu had taken a fancy to her. When he heard that she was still a virgin, he would probably be even happier. All the plans had been carefully thought out. They lured Xiaoxi and Chong Yaya step by step into the trap. Seeing that Chief Chong could only retreat step by step, the Chong family members were suppressed until they could not raise their heads. Everything was perfect. As long as they went to the ancestral hall today and dragged the two of them out to be executed, the matter would be over. He didn't expect that the person who was most unlikely to be saved actually had such a powerful backer. However, it did not matter. Xiaoni's eyes lit up. She was still Xiaoxi's wife. The Qiu family in the county was a wealthy family, but Xiaoxi's nephew-in-law was an official. It was another multiple-choice question. Of course, she chose to be an official with money. Moreover, she was the main wife after all. It was better than being a concubine. Most importantly, Xiaoni had some hidden thoughts. She felt that man with a bow and arrow, who was an official of the imperial court at a young age, was handsome, majestic, and especially manly. He was much better than young Master Qiu. Perhaps he also liked a weak and boneless girl like her. Compared to the domineering Yundong, she was much more feminine. Xiaoni quickly walked to the Gu family's door. The people guarding outside frowned at her. Seeing that she was about to push the door open, the Chong family immediately stopped her. "Wait, you're not going in there. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 11:19. watch his wife, and wash his eyes. Xiaoni was stunned. I'm here to deliver some vegetables to my husband. There's nothing to eat at home. I'm afraid he'll starve. That won't do. They have food. They don't need you. Just go. Xiaoni frowned. This is my house. Why can't I go in? The Zhou family members also started to help. That's right, that's right. The patriarch only asked us to watch over them, but he didn't say that they were criminals. Her husband is sick. As his wife, can't she come in to take a look? The people on both sides had different opinions, so they quickly quarreled. The 4 people who were talking in the room also heard it. Xiaoxi stood up and said, "I'll go out and take a look. Be careful." Xiaoxi left the house and walked towards the courtyard door. The villagers of the Zhou and Chang families were still arguing, but Xiaoni saw her first. She immediately lowered her eyes and wanted to walk in, but after taking 2 steps, she suddenly fell to the ground. The people who were still arguing on both sides were stunned. Just now, they shouldn't have touched her, right? Did you bump into something? You didn't, did you? They might have accidentally pushed her. Otherwise, how could she have fallen? The Zhou family wanted to reach out to help her, but Xiaoni quickly waved her hand. No need, no need. I could do it myself. Men and women shouldn't touch each other. I'll get up myself. She said that she would get up, but her eyes were on Xiaoxi. She patted her hands weakly and placed the basket in front of her. She had no intention of getting up for a long time. Xiaoxi was speechless. He turned around and left. His eyes hurt. He should go and see his wife to wash his eyes. He returned to the house in a hurry. Yundong looked at him in surprise. What's wrong? Is there a dog chasing you? Xiaoxi shook his head. It's nothing. Xiaoni is here. Upon hearing Xiaoni's name, Xiaoxi's expression changed. Although he was not smart, he was not a fool. Actually, when he and Chang Yaya were locked in the ancestral hall at the same time, they had spoken to each other. At that time, he was more inclined to believe Chang Yaya. Now that the matter had been sorted out from beginning to end, and with Yundong and Xiaoxi's reminder, Xiaoxi only felt that Xiaoni was very terrifying. She was no different from those vicious people they had encountered on the way to escape. Those refugees could still be said to be forced by life and had no choice but to survive. But what about Xiaoni? He raised her and took care of her and followed her, but in the end, he ended up being schemed against by her. If Yundong had come a day later, he and the innocent Chang Yaya would have lost their lives. How could Xiaoxi not hate him? Yundong patted his shoulder. Uncle, rest first. He'll go out and take a look. She's not a good person. Be careful not to be bitten by her. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. This time, when Yundong went out, Xiaoni, who had fallen to the ground, had already gotten up. She never expected that when Xiaoxi saw her fall, not only did he turn around and leave, he didn't even ask her about her condition. Xiaoni, what are you doing here? Yundong walked up to her. Seeing that she was in a daze and her eyes were filled with disappointment, the corners of Yundong's mouth could not help but twitch. Fortunately, Xiaoni knew why she was here. Even if she couldn't seduce Xiaoxi, she had to grab Xiaoxi. She looked at Yundong and smiled kindly. Yundong, I'm your aunt. We met in the ancestral hall before. It was a mess, so I didn't have time to introduce myself. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1120. You're too ugly. Yundong felt like her head was about to explode. Who are you to me? Make yourself clear. Don't take it for granted. Xiaoni tidied her clothes and said kindly, I know we don't have much to eat at home. I was afraid that you would be hungry, so I specially went to my eldest uncle's house to get some vegetables. She raised her arm and showed her the vegetables in the basket. Yundong raised her eyebrows. They had already finished lunch. Wasn't it a little late for this woman to deliver food? Xiaoni was still talking. She acted like a kind and polite elder. Is your uncle all right? He fainted previously. I was too angry at that time and didn't notice that. I was really incompetent as a wife. By the way, I want to look for the doctor just now, but I heard that you don't need it. You can treat him yourself. How is he now? Is he awake? He'll go in and take care of him. As she spoke, she was about to walk in. The Zhou and Chang families did not stop her this time, afraid that they would knock her down again. Unexpectedly, Yundong, who was standing behind the door, suddenly withdrew her hand. She was holding a wooden stick in her hand. She raised the wooden stick and pressed it against Hong Xiaoni's stomach. "Stop, Hong Xiaoni." She looked up in shock. "Yundong, why won't you let me in? Your uncle needs me. He'll definitely want to see me when he wakes up." "No, my uncle doesn't want to see you at all. You're too ugly." "I am ugly?" Hong Xiaoni screamed and reached out to touch her face. "How is she ugly? How?" The other people present looked at each other. Although Hong Xiaoni was not as good-looking as Miss Gu, she was still considered a village belle in Great Rock Village. It was just that she was a little weak, and it was not easy to have children. Unexpectedly, Yundong nodded firmly. "Yes, you're too ugly. Your heart is dirty. Aren't you ugly?" Hong Xiaoni's hand froze. She raised her head and laughed dryly. "Yundong, do you have some misunderstanding about me? Did Chang Yaya say something? Let me tell you, she's lying. She wants to sow discord between us. I'm your aunt. Your uncle and I fled all the way here because we went through thick and thin together. I can't bear to part with him, and he can't bear to part with me. We're a very loving couple." Yundong sneered. "A loving couple? What do you mean by loving? Did you ask your eldest uncle to bring people to beat him up and throw him into the cold ancestral hall? Or did you mean that he was locked up and starved for 2 days, but you didn't even visit him? Or did you not even stop him when he was about to be burned to death by the 2 patriarchs?" Hong Xiaoni felt like she was being questioned and could not breathe. She could only continue to laugh dryly. "I misunderstood that Xiaoxi did something to let me down. I understand now and know that he was wronged. It was Chang Yaya who seduced him." Yundong nodded. "Misunderstanding? What about before the misunderstanding? Look at you, then look at my uncle. One has been raised to be fair and tender, and the other is emaciated and weathered. One has warm and tidy clothes, and the other has thin clothes and has patches all over his body. One has been working all day, and the other has nothing to do every day and doesn't even wash her clothes. Is this called a loving couple? You're clearly using my uncle as a slave." Hong Xiaoni's face turned pale, especially when she saw the meaningful gazes of the villagers standing beside her. However, she still stood where she was and explained softly, "I was sick. The doctor said that I can't do heavy work and can only recuperate. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 11:21. "They'll beat him to death. Are you sick? What illness is so strange?" Yundong retracted the stick. "It just so happens that I'm a doctor. I'll take your pulse and see if I can completely heal you." Hong Xiaoni didn't dare to let her take her pulse. She immediately took 2 steps back. "No, there's no need. I'm fine. It's really timely. Do you think I'll believe you? Do you think I'm a fool?" Yundong pressed closer. "I don't think you're sick. You're simply sneaky, lazy, and scheming. Aren't you just bullying my uncle because he doesn't have any relatives by his side? You're really good. You've ruined him for 2 years and still dare to come to my door. Do you really think I don't have a temper? He'll return the debt to you on behalf of my uncle now." Slap. Yundong slapped her across the face. The more she spoke, the angrier she became. This woman was simply despicable. In particular, she had previously heard about the cause of Father Hong's death. Father Hong had injured his leg on the way to escape, when he encountered refugees who were fighting. He could not escape at all. However, Xiaoxi happened to fall to the ground as well. Seeing a knife slashing over, Father Hong flipped over and pressed down on Xiaoxi to block it for him. However, even if Father Hong didn't save Xiaoxi, he wouldn't be able to escape and would still die. Father Hong didn't sacrifice himself to save Xiaoxi. He found a way out for his daughter before he died. However, Yundong had to admit that it was a fact that he had saved Xiaoxi. If he had not blocked the sword and given Xiaoxi a chance to escape, Xiaoxi would have been severely injured even if he survived. Therefore, Father Hong asked him to take good care of his daughter. He agreed and did it, but it was enough. The debt that Gu Xiaoxi owed Father Hong had been repaid ever since he sent Hong Xiaoni safely to Great Rock Village and took care of her for so long, giving her a stable life. And Hong Xiaoni had set him up and tried to kill him. She owed Gu Xiaoxi. Gu Yundong's slap was to collect debts for his uncle. But Hong Xiaoni was stunned, and so were the others. The Zhou clansmen wanted to stop him, but Gu Yundong suddenly hit a vat under the courtyard wall with a stick in her hand. With a clatter, everyone was so frightened that they did not dare to move. Gu Yundong's cold gaze swept across them one by one. Whoever dares to come up, it'll beat him to death. Everyone gulped. This little girl was too savage. Hong Xiaoni also swallowed her saliva and looked at her in horror. Her voice was stuttering. No matter what, am still your aunt. Aren't you unfilial? Aren't you afraid of ruining your reputation? Pa! Unexpectedly, Gu Yundong slapped her again. Not anymore. My uncle has already divorced you. Hong Xiaoni's cheeks were red, and her eyes were filled with hatred. How dare she? How dare she hit her again and again in front of everyone? This was Great Rock Village. However, this hatred disappeared in an instant, because she saw Xiaoxi come out. Xiaoxi came out when he heard the commotion outside, but when he came out, he was holding a shoe. Hong Xiaoni recognized these shoes. It was one of Gu Xiaoxi's only pair of shoes. Why did he take out Gu Xiaoxi's shoes? Was he trying to say that she was just a broken shoe? Just as she thought this, Xiaoxi handed the shoe in his hand to Gu Yundong. Didn't you use the sole of your shoe to slap people in the past? Why did you use your hand today? Does it hurt? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1122. These two people are abnormal. Gu Yundong shook his hand. It really hurt. I was too angry for a moment. I didn't expect this woman to be so shameless to come knocking on our door after doing so many bad things. I didn't have time to go back and get my shoes. Xiaoxi said, It's fine. I brought it over for you. Use it. Come in later and I'll apply some ointment for you. Your palm is red. Okay. Gu Yundong agreed and turned around. Hong Xiaoni looked at the two of them in horror. This was abnormal. These two were abnormal. They were simply crazy. She turned around and ran. She no longer cared about reconciling with Gu Xiaoxi or seducing Xiaoxi. She only wanted to run far away. Otherwise, she would lose her life. As soon as Hong Xiaoni ran away, Gu Yundong could only say regretfully, she really can't take a beating. Then, she went into the house with Xiaoxi. The people outside couldn't help but swallow their saliva in shock. Could he do that? This was the first time they had seen a junior hit an elder so confidently. On the other hand, the Chong family members said mockingly, Hey, Hong Xiaoni seems to be from your Zhou family, right? You didn't even stop them when she was beaten up like this. A trace of frustration flashed across the faces of the Zhou villagers. They were all shocked just now. How could they dare to attack? That's their own business. It's not easy for us to interfere with a fight between aunt and niece. That's right. It's a woman's matter. How can we pull them apart as men? The few of them found an excuse and felt at ease. Moreover, strictly speaking, Hong Xiaoni was not from their clan. Gu Yundong and Gu Xiaoxi returned to the house and saw Gu Xiaoxi looking at her with a complicated expression. Gu Yundong raised her eyebrows. Did I do something wrong just now? No. Between Gu Yundong and Hong Xiaoni, he was definitely on his niece's side. I just feel depressed. He couldn't put his finger on it, but it felt like a dream. A few days ago, the two of them were still concerned about each other as a couple under the same roof. In just a few days, they had become enemies. Gu Xiaoxi didn't have any feelings for Hong Xiaoni. He liked hard-working and kind-hearted girls. Hong Xiaoni was worlds apart from his ideal wife. It was a responsibility for him to work diligently to support her. Actually, to Gu Xiaoxi, who was only about 20 years old, this responsibility was like a mountain. It was very tiring for him to carry it on his shoulders. Now, there was a feeling of relief. Yundong, you hit her. I'm afraid Chief Zhou will come later. Hitting Hong Xiaoni in front of so many people was equivalent to slapping Chief Zhou's face. How could he not be angry? Gu Yundong smiled. I just want them to come. Gu Xiaoxi was puzzled. Gu Yundong laid him down. Don't worry about what happens next. You're still sick. Lie down and have a good sleep. By the time you recover, things will probably be over. Gu Xiaoxi was even more confused, but he was indeed tired. With Yundong and his fiancée by his side, he was indeed much more at ease. Not long after he lay down, he fell asleep. Gu Yundong turned to look at Chang Yaya. You haven't had a good rest for 2 days. The room next door is empty. Go and sleep. Don't worry, we're here. Chang Yaya hesitated for a moment. Is there anything I can do to help? Not at the moment. I'll let you know if I need to. Okay. Only then did Chang Yaya return to her room to rest. As expected, not long after, Chief Zhou brought Zhou Jingue over aggressively. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible.